Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
He didn't want it tonight, so like I say, we gonna do this and we gonna deal with this.
Pause. Hey, let me say this, man. People gonna hear me and Laron. We gonna debate, but we cool, man. We cool people. We both share a lot of similarities as far as what we believe in. But we follow the laws and commandments to the best of our abilities. But my problem, ladies and gentlemen, before we go any further, ain't nothing wrong with believing in the Most High. Ain't nothing wrong with following the laws and commandments. My problem is with the text. It's with the text. That's all my problem is with. Nothing else. All right? And interpretation and so forth and history. Ain't nothing wrong with believing in God. Ain't nothing wrong with saying, hey, I follow these laws and commandments to the best of my ability. And I want to also say that I do have a debate tomorrow night. Let's not forget, with Brothers Zadok Ben Israel, we're going to get it in. We're going to talk about if the term Israel is referenced in history or archaeology before 300 BC. So we're going to get it in tomorrow. We're going to talk about some linguistics. We're going to get it in about where the terms come from, what this term really means, and what the original text actually says. So it's going to be an educational tour tomorrow. Not much of a debate, but more of a linguistic argument. That's what it's going to be about. All right? I'm going to bury Zadok tomorrow. So you can send out the hearse. Send out the hearse early. It's going to be a done deal.
All right, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, 8 o'clock. You don't want to miss that debate.
Hey, Sal.
Sal,
I'm sorry, Sal. I can't let Laron get away with the reason. And by the way, too, it was not. I accepted to do this tonight and suggested to him, let's get on. And the Daniels thing is a very, very serious subject. Me and Laron already debated some of it already on his show, and he knows the brother here is not a joke when it comes to Daniel. So me getting it in tonight is not a problem. I can get it on the top of the head too. But we need to promote that debate because this is something that every Israelite needs to hear. Every Christian needs to hear. Because what they're going to hear from me, they've never heard it before. So they already heard Laron stuff. They've been hearing that for the past 200 years. But what Garfield is bringing is new. So let's come to the debate with your pen and paper. Go ahead, Sal.
That's right. Once again, you got to promote the debate. Of course, you got to promote it, so we can make sure we have a whole lot of listeners out there locked into Debate Talk Free Radio. So make sure you guys get your pen and pads ready. But tonight, once again, we're going to have more of a discussion tonight. It's not a debate, but a discussion. Once again, it's called the Sabbath, created by God or man.
Yeah, I really, with the whole subject, I'm really trying to see where Garfield is coming at, where his head at, and why would he come up with this topic anyways. I know he was dealing with this topic in the group last week or sometime. So my thing is where is his head as far as with dealing with this calendar and was the Sabbath made by God. And, with that being said, let me read out a couple of things real quick. Or was it made by man? Let me read out a couple of things real quick. I'm going to say that the Sabbath was made by God. That's, first of all, what I'm going to say according to the theology of the Bible. And when he finished his statement and bring forth what he's dealing with, then I'm going to show y'all what the problem is and where he's lacking at. All right, let me go to Genesis real quick. Let me go to Genesis chapter 1. And 14. It says, and God said, Genesis 1 and 14, it says, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, underline signs, and for seasons, days and for years. So right here we have a statement that God uses the sun as well as the moon and the stars for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. Now, brothers and sisters, for those that are believers, when I say signs, don't get scary or don't tune out because I'm talking about signs. But there's some things that we need to understand that before Israel was even born, before Adam came about, we need to understand that the Most High was moving through the heavens, the new moons, and also dealing with the sun as well. So we need to understand that the Adamites knew about it, and then on down till we get to Abraham and his seed, they knew about it too. In other words, we don't deal with astrology, but we do deal with astronomy. In other words, when we deal with new moons and certain days that certain using the sun as a sign just as well. You know, when you look at the text and you look at Jesus said that the signs in the last days of the moon turning into blood and the sun not giving its light. So we're dealing with signs here just as well as I'm gonna show in the text tonight. So when we look at this, don't be afraid of this word signs and for seasons and for days and for years, because there's definitely signs in the heavens to pertain unto Christ as well, and to his coming, and to dispensations of time, which means stewardships of times, or probation periods, or ages. There is ages that the Adamites knew about, which is the nations of the world, which is the seed, which actually is the children of the Adamites consist of people that's outside of the nations, just people in general. But when I mean Adamites, I mean those actually before the seed came across, which was dealing with Abraham and being called from among the nations. And so we see that they had this information just as well as dealing with signs and dealing with seasons. And they used lunar calendars and also solar calendars. And when he put forth his premise on what he's saying, then I'm going to deal with the calendar that he's going to bring forth, and also the majority of information that he's going to bring forth. So when we look at this, we look at it says in the book of Matthew, it says, where is he that is born of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east. So we know that those that was in the east, the Magi, was looking for this star, or governing stars for the signs and times of the seasons. And this is what the signs were actually according to, because from the beginning it was already written that he should be slain from the foundation of the earth, or the overthrow of the earth, before Adam even came to the earth, basically, because the earth was restored when he came to the earth. I mean, when the Most High came to restore the earth, and he told Adam to replenish the earth. So we're looking at the signs and times of the season, and we're looking at did God set up the Sabbath, and also or did man set the Sabbath up? And when we get into this text, we're going to look and we're going to see that what's been set up and what lines up with what. And we're going to look at the theology of these of Kemet, the theology of the Israelites as well, because it's important. And what's what for who, and who's what for what. So that's one of the things we need to look at, you know. And God made two great lights, the great light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and these things will be used for signs, as he said, for seasons, times, and years, basically. So with that being said, you know, just to cover that little portion until I really hear what's his argument or what he's saying, I'm going to yield my time right there.
All right, guys. Once again, it's Debate Talk Radio. You know that number, 646-716-7320. For all the international listeners out there, if you want to call in, you have to call in via Skype. Once again, you can't call in by dialing the number directly. You have to call in via Skype. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. And, of course, if you have a question, just press number 1, and I'll add you to the conversation. However, everybody else, you can call in via phone or Skype. And we appreciate the dialogue here at Debate Talk Free Radio. So now let's go to Garfield Reid. And once again, it's 7 minutes for the opening statements. Let me open up his phone line, and you can go ahead, brother.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, this is, wow, I'm telling you, hey, thank God this is not Daniel, and thank God that guy didn't have 15 minutes, because I would have fell asleep already, man. Boy, oh boy. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is simple. If you believe in the Bible as the Word of God, right, word for word, everything is correct, then I don't think this conversation is for you. If this is somebody who is a free thinker, who has an open mind, you could believe in God, follow the commandments, but you want to learn about history and what can be proven, this is the conversation you need to have. You ask yourself the basic questions. When did the Sabbath start? Who started it? Who came up with this concept of, you know what, on the seventh day we're going to rest? Now, if you believe the scriptures 100%, then you don't need to be in this conversation. But if you want to think logically and freely and have a conversation about history, archaeology, and external evidence, then you can dialogue with me tonight. All right. First things first. Who is the first person ever to perform a seventh-day rest in the world ever in history? If you're going to look at it, you got to say the Babylonians. The Babylonians are the first people ever to say the seventh-day rest. Don't believe me? Let's look at some sources. Let's look at a dictionary of world mythology. Let's look at the reading online. Let's look at West African religion, the dynamics of progress, designing the city of reason, or just visiting this planet. All these books document who was the first person to start a 7-day week, or when they started worship on 4 days. If you look at the Igbo or most of the West African tribes, they used to worship they used to only have a 4-day week. So now, ladies and gentlemen, nowadays we look at these cultures, they have a 7-day week. So that is the influence of the Babylonians. The Babylonians, prior to 600 BC, ladies and gentlemen, started what we would consider today a Sabbath. We would consider it rest day on the seventh day. Let's look at what the Babylonians really, really call this. Now, the 7-day week, ladies and gentlemen, is the key to the Sabbath. If you said the earth was created, or the universe was created in 7 days, ask yourself this question. Why would an all-powerful, all-seeing, omnipresent God, omnipotent God, need to have rest? You have 7 billion people right now on the planet, approximately. 1 billion alone in China. 3.5 billion are Christians. So now you're telling me God, who is always present everywhere, needs a day to rest, the all-powerful God Almighty? Why? Put that in the Bible. Somebody wrote that. But I'm not even gonna go into that. Let's look at who on record, who we can prove started the Sabbath first, the 7-day rest. All right, let's look at this. The origin of the 7-day week is the religious significance that was placed on the seventh day by ancient cultures. The earliest ancient sources record a 7-day week is in ancient Babylon prior to 600 BC. Babylonians celebrated a holy day every 7 days, starting from the new moon. Then the first visible crescent of the moon, but adjusted the number of the days of the final week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now you might say to yourself, okay. How does that relate to everything? Because guess what? The Zoroastrian calendar follows the Babylonian in relating the seventh and other days of the month to Ahura Mazda, who is the god of the Persians. The Jews celebrated every seventh day within a continuous cycle of 7-day weeks as a holy day of rest from their work. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have on record through archaeology, through history, or through any external evidence to say that anybody who was in Judea, if you want to call them Jews, Hebrew, Israelites for this conversation, we can. I don't have a problem with that. But when did they start following a Sabbath? It's recorded after the exile from Babylon. There's no record of any person who claims to be an Israelite, Jew, or Hebrew following a Sabbath before the exile. So is it a coincidence? I'm dealing with history. I'm not dealing with it. The Bible says, so it must be true. I'm dealing with what I can prove tonight. So we could quote scripture. Genesis says this. God rested. Listen, if he really wants to get it down to it, no Bible existed, ladies and gentlemen. No writing of a Bible existed before 300 BC. The Egyptians never had any full history, barely, before 300 BC. So for him to come now and say, I'm going to quote the Bible, that's going to change the whole conversation, because he can't prove that people in history were performing a Sabbath before the exile. If he can't, then he has no argument. He could use the Bible as a reference and reference Deuteronomy 5 of why they followed the Sabbath because of Moses, or he could refer it because of God needing a rest, which is one of the most ridiculous things, ladies and gentlemen. Men have corrupted the book. So if a man write a book and said that God needed a rest, that's a problem to me. Because my God he's always on his job. He doesn't need a rest. So at the end of the day, he can come back and say, hey, it's related to this or related to that. No. The Babylonians invented what's called a seventh-day rest concept. Now, the Israelites or the Hebrews or the Jews now call it the Sabbath. That's fine. You change the name, you change the concept, fine. But where did it originate from? Was it from God or was it from man? I'm saying it's from man. Man invented a seventh-day rest. Is it a bad thing? You want to celebrate a day to praise God one day a week? I celebrate God's power every single day. I don't need one day to prove that. I celebrate every day, every morning, every night before I go to bed. I remember who made me to be here. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, if it's from God, you're going to quote the Bible and say it's the word of God and X, Y, and Z, fine. You can win that argument there. But if you're going to think logically and with common sense, no history of anybody celebrating a seventh-day rest before the Babylonians, and that was before the exile, 600 BC, is the earliest record. The people who call themselves Jews, Israelites, and Hebrews started after the exile. Now, ask Laron, can he show us anybody following Sabbath before the exile who was Jewish? I bet you he can't. I yield the rest of my time.
All right. Once again, it's Debate Talk Radio. Two powerful opening statements right there. So right about now, we're going to go into a dialogue session where I'm going to open up both their phone lines, and they're going to, basically speak about the topic matter. Once again, for those people that just joined into the show, today's show is entitled The Sabbath Created by God or Man? The Sabbath Created by God or Man? Once again, for those people that just joined into the show, we apologize for the debate. Originally, we were supposed to have a debate today between Lord Abba and Chief X, but it's been canceled and rescheduled for next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's get right into this show right here. So let me open up the phone lines, and let me let Laron open up. Go ahead, brother. You can go ahead.
Yeah, this brother, he talks about God don't need the rest, and what he don't understand is he don't even understand the text in the first place with the allegations that he's making. Number one is this: the Bible says that he ceased from his work. In other words, when he brought Israel into the wilderness, he told them on the Sabbath day to cease from all work. Not that they was tired, because men would have kept on working, but he said to cease from his work. So in other words, when we talk about a Sabbath, we're talking about God ceasing from his work. Not that he needed to rest because he don't get tired. He's not governed by the flesh, or he's not governed by the things that we're governed by in this world, first off. So number one, that's his first lie he's dealing with. Number two is this: Abraham came from Ur of the Chaldeans. He came from Babylon, first off. And reason why, let me take you out of something real quick. Exodus 12:2. It says, this month should be unto you the beginning of months. So in other words, he brought them out of Kemet, and they was used to using their calendar. So he said, this month should be unto you the beginning of months, first off. So this brother has not read the Bible in the first place. So number one is this: I just told this brother that from the beginning, God told Adam, he said that the Bible should be, the two lights should be for signs and for seasons and for times and for years, right? I just told this brother that. I just told this brother about the Magi, which came from the east. And when they came from the east, see, he's sniggling and giggling. When they came from the east, it said that, it says, where is he that is born of the Jews? So we have east. So this brother do not even know the text. So the Babylonians, or Babel, which the kingdom of Babel was set up, they knew already about the times and the seasons. And not only that, calendars were set up around the geography of the land of when harvest was and their seasons was, as well as the calendar of Kemet. It was set up around the now of when their time was. And it's mighty odd and funny when we talk about the text and we talk about the scripture. It's mighty odd and funny that thousands of years later we have a 7-day period or 7-week period that correlates just as well with the heavens just as well. There's no different. You know what I'm saying? So it's set up after almost similar to the calendar that we have now. So this brother, he doesn't even know the text. He's making allegations about different things, and he don't even know what's going on. So it's crazy he even saying this.
Can I go now? Can I go now?
Abraham came from the Chaldeans, bro.
Yeah, y'all can have a dialogue. You know,
first of all, ladies and gentlemen, listen. If the premise of the brother is the Bible said it, so it's true, it's you could go ahead with that. All I'm trying to show people is this: he can't prove Abraham said anything because he doesn't have a text. No text existed before 300 BC. So where is this information coming from? It must have come from somewhere else because there's no writing that exists of any Holy Bible before 300 BC. So if somebody's going to tell me Abraham said, you can't use that as evidence. Where is the archaeological, the historical, the external evidence that Abraham did this? He said he referred to a 10-day week of Egypt. Egypt had a 10-day week. The Assyrians had a 5-day week. The Babylonians never had a 7-day week until 600 BC. So what is he talking about? I'm talking about what we can prove, not on faith. I can't argue your faith, brother. We're dealing with facts. So if you're going to say that the Bible is 100% true, that's your faith. There's no problem with that. Go ahead. I could read the text all day. I used to read it for years. I was a Christian. The point of the matter is, brother, you cannot show and prove anybody on this radio station that's listening that there was a 7-day week before the Babylonians at 600 BC. It does not exist before that. If you show me that, then you have an argument. Because remember, when you're using the term Babylon, you have to be careful because out of Babylon came a lot of things that the Bible speaks against. But the truth of the matter is the hypocrisy of the Bible and the people who follow this stuff is that the Babylonian calendar is the root to the Hebrew calendar. So although they're condemning it, they are part of it. Let's look, for example, the first month called Aran Nisanu. The equivalent in Hebrew is Nisan. You notice the word Nisanu and Nisan. And also, the Hebrew calendar has the month of Tammuz. Tammuz, come on, brothers and sisters. We know what Tammuz is. We know what Tammuz stood for. That's nothing positive. And listen, in the Babylonian system, ladies and gentlemen, they had a day, every 7th day is called a holy day, also called an evil day, meaning unsuitable for prohibited activities. On these days, officials were prohibited from various activities and common men were forbidden to make a wish. Now, you can take this brother's word based on the faith. I love him. I love Laron and quoting the scriptures. He's my brother. I love him. But the fact of the matter is he cannot prove this outside of faith. If he can't prove it outside of faith, I don't want to hear it. Not saying that everything outside of faith. Hold on. Not saying everything out of faith can be proven. I'm just saying we have documentation, even of the Assyrians, ladies and gentlemen, from 2000 BC. They had a 5-day calendar. So if they had a 5-day calendar and they also follow what the Babylonians followed, because they have the same calendar right now, why is it that they didn't have a 7-day week? Because it never existed. The 7-day week is based on the Sabbath. You rest on the 7th day. Who started it first? The Babylonians, 600 BC. After that, the exiles. You find Hebrews, Jews, or Judeans following it. Come on, my brothers and sisters. He can quote the faith and quote the scriptures. Go ahead, my brother.
Quick question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are you telling me that from Kemet and to the different other cultures and nations, they didn't upgrade their calendars?
They didn't. Not before the Babylonians. The Babylonians are the first in history to have a 7-day calendar.
Hold on, listen. That's not the question. Are you telling me that in the 8th century BC, are you telling me that different cultures did not upgrade their calendars from Kemet all the way to?
Hey, brother, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm talking about a 7-day week
So this is my question. Why did they upgrade their calendars, brother?
You know what? To be honest with you, there's a lot of different theories for that. But remember this. Again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. Egypt had a 10-day calendar. Assyria had a 5-day calendar. Is that coincidental?
Let me ask you a question.
And now later on in years,
what was Egypt's calendar built around?
It was built around agriculture. It was built around the astrology. It was built around.
So let me ask you a question. What does that have to? Okay, why was Assyrian had a 5-day? It was built around the same thing, right?
The Assyrian calendar. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if their calendar.
Let me break this down for you.
Hold on. It's a lunar-based calendar. It's based on the moon, and this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We have a calendar right now from the Hebrews that's based on the moon that follows an Assyrian Babylonian calendar system, which they speak against the Babylonians, and then they use names that are evil, like Tammuz. They use Nisan, which is the same thing in Babylon. They use the same name. So it's really a replica.
Brother, how many days? How many hours does it take for the sun to rotate on his axis?
I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, stop it, man. Don't talk about another day or what's going on, how anything broke down. We shouldn't even be having this argument because I want to tell you something. The ancients was not as modern as we are now. First off, if we look at things now, we're on 365 days, 0.25, right, for the Earth to revolve around or go around the solar system, right, or go around the sun, right? Mm-hmm. So what they did was they break it down into weeks, right? They break it down into weeks, into quarters, right? And it deals with quarters in 3-month periods according to the seasons, right? So that's what they did, right? So number one is this: when you talk about we're at number one is everybody began to modernize their calendars in the 8th century was because guess what? We became more modernized and we became more to understand the solar system. You see what I'm saying? So it's not we can't have we can't have a 7-day week when we see it's in accordance with the heavens. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it being in accordance with the heavens? There's nothing wrong with that.
Hold on. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, brother. But you see, now you're delving into a whole other system. But let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. What he's doing, he's trying to be slick about it. I said to him, if this is his faith, I don't have a problem with that. That's his belief. But if we're going to have a conversation about what we can prove, he needs to be honest with you guys and say, listen, there's no records of Jews, Israelites, Hebrews, or whatever you guys want to call yourselves this time of the week. It doesn't exist of anybody performing a 7th-day, holy day, rest day in the cultures.
The Bible don't exist.
Hold on. Let me finish, bro. Let me finish. Now, if he can't come to me and say that, well, you bring me a text from that time period that's saying it. Don't give me a text from 200 BC. Bring me a text from 800 BC. Bring me a text from 1200 BC then. Don't give me some redacted version, as you would say, to say that something happened 1,000 years ago and expect that people could remember 23,145 verses and write down exactly what happened. No human being is able to do that and write the exact same thing. Come on, brother. We deal with logic. Hold on. Let me finish, my brother. Now, the Bible, ladies and gentlemen, if we're going to use the Bible as evidence, it can be used as internal evidence. Don't get me wrong. But we have to have corroboration. You know, in a court case, they say you got to have a corroborating witness. The corroborating witness for the Bible is either archaeology, history, or external evidence. That means you have to have a stone. You have to have something to say, hey, X, Y, Z is happening. Do we have a calendar? Yes, we do have calendars. We have tons of calendars. He talked about the 365-year calendar. The Egyptians been doing that for centuries, for thousands of years. They've been counting 360 days plus 5 extra years at the end. The Babylonians been doing whatever they do.
According to what, though, brother? According to we built a calendar, brother, according to
Hold on. What did you just say about the calendar? I didn't hear you. You said the Egyptians.
I'm saying, brother, we built according to the now. and what was good for their agriculture and their land. And when the flood seasons took place, we built a calendar according to the exact.
No problem. I agree.
So hold on. Let me bring out something real quick. First of all, I need to establish the biblical text as being a historical book. And if I establish the biblical text as being a historical book, then your claim that you're saying is void, because these are these people's history, first off. And number two is this. I'm not going to sit up here and argue with you about what's going on in the ancient times when we got Jews and Hebrews over here and also Arabs killing each other over this stuff that predates your information, and their ancestors kept their information in what you're saying. And
hold on. No, Laron, you're wrong. You know why? Because we argued about the Sabbath, brother. This is a discussion. The point of the matter is, I asked you, can you show me? This is it, ladies and gentlemen. If he can't show me nothing written in writing before 600 BC saying there was a 7-day week and people celebrated Sabbath, he ain't got nothing to say.
Let me get my information, brother. Hold on. I got something to say. Let me finish. Now watch this. Now, this brother right here, number one is I have to prove that the Bible is a historical book, because his claims, number one, is that the Hebrew writings is not valid, and that what they're saying is not valid because we can't find documents of what he's saying past 300 BC. Now, what this fella don't want to explain to y'all is this. Number one, we need to understand when we deal with these documents, how did they date these documents as well, and also what is the chronology built upon, and how did they build a chronology? See, you don't want to talk about that, because when we talk about that, we're going to see that there's a lot of errors in the chronology, and most of the things that we're seeing is taking place is with the antiquities of the Jews are in the hands of the Arabs. Now, let me bring out something real quick, because this is something he's been hiding from and he don't want to deal with. All right, let's deal with this text. It says Manito on Tutti Mayas, right? And the Jesus, right? So let's deal with this.
What does it have to do with the calendar, bro?
Let me finish,
what
brother.
Does it have to do with the calendar?
Listen, brother, it's going to prove the historical book and evidence of the Bible, of dealing with the Bible, that it's a historical book, and their calendar, and how the Lord
what
said to them.
What does that have to do with the Sabbath, bro?
Listen,
how they said to do the Sabbath.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. And it says, and this month should be to you, not nobody else, to you. If they wanted to do that, that's whatever they wanted to do. But this month was started for Israel to be a Sabbath unto them, for them to cease on work on this 7th day, and then centuries later, we got a calendar that has a 7-day rest on it. Come on, brother. Are you
all right.
Let me bring this out real quick.
Can I agree with you and make a quick point? Can I make a quick point, bro?
Hold on. No, let me bring my information, because what you're trying to do is you don't want this information to get out. But
what information? We talking about the Sabbath. We talking about the Sabbath, bro.
Listen, since you want to
talking about the Sabbath and the holy day and the 7th day.
All right, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, Laron. Hold on. I see we've got a couple of people pressing the number 1. So if you're going to chime in, if you want to chime into this conversation, you know the number, 646-716-7320. I'm just going to give the brothers a little more time before I bring the listening audience in. But you can press the number 1 right now. If you know you're going to have a question or you know you're going to have a comment, the number is 646-716-7320. Debate Talk for You is all about the people getting answers to their questions. Once again, if you know you want your voice to be heard, you have a question or a comment, the number is 646-716-7320. I'm going to go to the people in a few minutes. All right, so go ahead, Laron. Go ahead.
Now, first off, let me read this real quick. It says Manito, Tutti Mayas, and the Jesus, right? This is writings from Josephus, which mentions a quote from Manito. It says, Tutti Mayas in his reign, for what I know not, a blast of God smote us, the Egyptians basically. It says, unexpectedly from the regions of the east. In other words, invaders of the east came into Egypt during this time. It says invaders of an obscure race marched in confidence and victory against the land, right? It says by no means of force, they easily seized without striking a blow. In other words, they didn't even have to strike Egypt or touch Egypt and marched in their land. This is during the Hyksos period, right? So it says, and they appointed a king, one of their number, whose name was on the east bank, and the city of that was called Avaris. Now let's key in on something real quick. Number one was this: Ptolemaios is in Ptolemaios is the Greek for that's his Greek name, Ptolemaios. In the 13th dynasty, Manetho lists a list of kings, and in that 13th dynasty, a Duty Mose was in that dynasty. Now, one thing I want to bring out, this, sisters and brothers. Number one is this: in order for Israel to come, in order for Jesus king to come during that time, Egypt did not have an army. First off, that's the first thing. Number two is when he says a blast of God smote Egypt, what does he mean by that? Well, let's look at the Ipir Papyrus. The Ipir Papyrus explains plagues that happened in Egypt, but they have dated it to a time of the 19th century, and we know, to the 19th dynasty, and we know in the 19th dynasty there was no such deeds because the Ramesses II was prosperous during that time. So we know there has to be an earlier account of these plagues or a blast of God that hit Egypt during this time. So what we see from this is we see a written history of Manetho. Then we also see a history of dealing with the Israelites, saying that they came up out of Egypt by the hand of God. And then we see Ptolemaios, and we see Manetho giving a similar account of a blast of God smote the Egyptians. And we know, brothers and sisters, what happened in our text, our historical book of what happened to Egypt during that time, and we know that the army drowned in that sea. So we know this happened. So if we have a account of this Hyksos information, then we know God brought the Israelites out during this time, and he established the month of Eight, which is a historical event and a historical month for Israel unto this day. So this brother don't realize is we have a historical account from Manetho himself saying that he called them. He said that Jesus came in, which was not Israelites, because they came in after a desecrated Egypt, or unfortified Egypt was unfortified due to the leaving of the Israelites coming from out of Kemet, going into the east, going into eastwards, and unfortified Egypt. We see that the Jesus come in, which was an obscure race, and this obscure race attacked Israel from the back as they came up out of Egypt, and this was the Amalekites. So this brother right here, he don't realize that the Bible is a historical thing. It has historical things in it. So hold on, brother. Let me give you.
You talk for like seconds. You talk about 50 minutes, man. Listen. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying, Laron. I just want to make that clear to everybody else listening. I can dispute it. I could bring facts. I could bring other authors that have said similar things. I could bring evidence that the Greek writers of the 4th century saying that the Hyksos are the Jews. But listen, I'm not even going to go there. Hold on. We have Hectaeus of Miletus. We have Hectaeus of Abdera. We have Diodorus Siculorus, who is in the 2nd century.
What did he say? State what they said,
I don't have the information in front of me, but this is basically what they all said. Hold on, bro. I could look for it if I want to. It's not a problem, because it's in Berosus and Manetho, the Russell Merkin's book. Relax, bro. They basically said, ladies and gentlemen, that the Jews that we have, these are the Greeks writing, that the Hyksos are the ones who went into Jerusalem, and they're the ones that are now coming into Greece. So the people that we call Jews are the Hyksos, because there were 2 expulsions. There was one during the time of Amos, and there was one at the time of Seti I. All right? It's called, and Manetho talks about that too, but he didn't mention that a while ago, that Manetho mentioned 2 expulsions, not 1, 2. So what we have is Josephus, who quotes Manetho saying, yes, the expulsion is really the Exodus. So there was no Exodus. This is what he needs to tell you. There was no Exodus at all from their accounts. Josephus, who he's quoting, is saying that, which he's quoting a while ago. He forgot to leave that out, Then Manetho also said there was another expulsion because the folks who were the Hyksos, they were expelled to Jerusalem. They came back to Avaris because that's the town that they built. So they built that town, and that's the town where they were enslaving Egyptians, ladies and gentlemen. Read the Tempest Stele. It talks about Amos kicking them out. He was the liberator. How coincidental is the name Amos to Moses? How coincidental he freed the Egyptians and Moses freed the Israelites? How coincidental there was a mass expulsion of 240,000. Hold on. There's a mass expulsion of 240,000 people, and there's a mass exodus of what you call it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, let's not fall into this trap what Laron has said it for us. We're talking about the Sabbath. And the point of the matter, hold on, brah, hold on, man. Hold on. The problem now with Laron is this. He cannot win the conversation about the Sabbath. So he's trying to, although this is just a discussion, it's not a debate. I'm trying to tell the brother, from a biblical perspective, if you believe, it's fine. Garfield is not going to debate that. I don't debate faith. I only debate what we can prove as facts. And the fact still remains there is no record before 600 BC when the Babylonians, ladies and gentlemen, had a 7-day week. They had a 7th-day rest day. So when the folks who were living in Judea went into Babylon, because they do have a list, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, of the Babylonians listed who went there. 30,000. They have a list of 30,000, ladies and gentlemen. And that list tells who went to Babylon. So now, when they created this list, these folks who returned, the exiles who returned to Judea, those people under the Persians started to follow something called the Sabbath, the 7th-day rest. Is it coincidental that these Judeans, a.k.a. Hebrews, Israelites, Jews, whatever you want to call them, are now following the Sabbath, and there's no record of anybody following a Sabbath before that time? This is what the conversation is about. It's not about do the most and this and that. If you want to prove the Bible is true, there's several ways you could prove it. But my point is you cannot use the Bible as a reference unless you have corroborating evidence, meaning that the book was not written before 300 BC. 23,000 verses, no manuscripts before manuscripts before 300 BC. Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, you can't find one word, one verse, a complete verse of the Bible that you believe in before 300 BC. Why? But it's not only for Jews, it's not only for the Hebrews, it's for almost every civilization. There was no writing. People didn't write a lot. There was always oral tradition. So when you find the Babylonians writing and they wrote down this, and the Persians wrote this, and the Assyrians wrote this, it is very rare because they were the masters. They were in charge. The Egyptians were in charge. Even the Egyptians didn't have a complete history until the 4th century. Somebody wrote Egyptica. And then that person might need to probably base his stories off that person. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not debating about Hyksos and do the most, who's do the most, what 13th dynasty or whatever. Listen, I'm talking, there are real stories in the Bible. They've just been inverted a lot to show us Israelites when they weren't the Israelites who were actually in the story. I could give 1,000 examples of that. I want to stick on the topic. I'm begging the brother. Stay on topic.
Let me bring out something real quick. Let me bring out something real quick. All right, it says the origin of the 7-day week is the religious significance that was placed on the 7th day by ancient cultures. In other words, you see it says ancient cultures. It says the earliest ancient sources record a 7-day week in ancient Babylon prior to 600 BC. It says Babylonians celebrated a holy day every 7 days, starting from the new moon, then the first. Hold on for a minute. This brother then got caught up now. Okay, so when we talk about the new moons, first off, we talk about the new moons, and we see them placing these days on the festivals on the new moon days. Talk about dealing with the different quarters and dealing with the 7-day periods. So when he talks about 600 BC, these people have been selling the earliest calendar that they found was at that time, but there's calendars that's earlier than that. So these people have been dealing with a 7-day holiday for centuries, and these brothers was calendar keepers for centuries. So he talked about the Assyrians, talking about what they did, right? So when he talked about Assyria west, which is westward of Babylon, we're talking about two different people here. Even though they ruled towards that empire and so forth, But we're talking about people that were celebrating on their festival days built around new moons. So right then and there, and we know that the quarters of the new moons was dealing with 7 days. So they had a calendar that was built around new moon. So this brother then put a toe in his mouth and don't even realize that they have been doing the lunar calendars and the new moons from the get-go, which consisted of dealing with 7 days and quarters of the new moon. This brother then
Can I respond to that? Very good job. Good job. Good job, my brother. You're trying to fool us again. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, the 7-day week period never started until prior to 600 BC, and I'm going to prove the point right now. Listen, Frank C. Sen, in his book Christian Liturgy, in the same thing that he Googled, Catholic and evangelical points to data suggesting evidence of an early continuous use of a 7-day week, referring to the Jews during the Babylonian captivity in the 6th century BC, after the destruction of the Temple of Solomon. So now, ladies and gentlemen, what this means is the 7-day week, if we look at the history of it, you don't have any documentation of anybody before. The lunar solar calendar, ladies and gentlemen, is not the conversation. The conversation is a 7-day week. Don't get caught up with him trying to fool around and bring up lunar solar and the new moon and all this craziness. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, the only reason why it's important to you is because of a religious book. There's no other reason. You wouldn't talk about 7-day or nothing if it wasn't in the Bible. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if we're talking from a historical perspective, if he cannot provide me with a 7-day calendar, show me a 7-day week in any culture. Don't tell me that they were following the new moons and way back. No, this was implemented a little bit before 600 BC. This is how far the historians can track it. Hold on. So if that's the earliest that they found a 7-day week, I'm trying to show you that the lunar solar calendar has nothing to do with this 7-day week, bro, because they implemented a 7-day week for a purpose. They decided that, hey, what? Every 7th day is going to be a rest day. So the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th, and they would give special things for special gods. You couldn't do certain things, just like how you can't do certain things on Sabbath. You can't work. You're not supposed to do certain things on the Sabbath according to what the Hebrews actually follow, traditional Orthodox Jews. So I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, listen. If it wasn't for your Bible, you wouldn't even say God has anything to do with the Sabbath. Take Genesis out. Take Exodus out. Take all the first 5 books out. We wouldn't even mention. And these first 5 books, ladies and gentlemen, weren't written before 300 BC. So that means whoever wrote it was influenced by different cultural writings because they didn't have a history. They had to create one because it wasn't there. Everybody was writing their history. The Babylonians had Quetzais. Quetzais wrote the Babylonian history. Then after him, Berosus wrote it. And so when you match up Berosus' writing with Genesis, ladies and gentlemen, you see how there is a literary dependence on Berosus. So when people jump up and say, the Bible is copying the Epic of Gilgamesh, don't believe it. Don't believe that. Look at Berosus' writings. He wrote all the flood stories and everything together and compiled it. And if you read the Bible and compare Genesis 1 to 11 to Berosus' writings, you see a literary dependence of what that guy wrote. So that means the Bible will not agree with the Epic of Gilgamesh or with Athrasis or whoever else they had a flood story for. It will agree with Berosus because he wrote his book in 278 BC. And when he wrote in 278 BC, the folks who were in Judea already had an oral tradition of things that they used to do in Babylon when they were exiled. So they adopted those things. They even adopted names, Zerubbabel, Esther. Esther comes from Ish. So you see that they adopted these names from Babylon. So if they adopted the names, ladies and gentlemen, don't you think that they adopted their ways also? Don't you think when we came to America, we adopted everything? We lost our mores, our folkways, our norms, our traditions, our customs, our religion, and our names. So don't you see that they did also the same thing in that culture, the reality of the Judeans, mixed with Hyksos or whoever they are? They adopted what they were living with, just like how we adopted Christianity here. We adopted their names. His name is Laron Campbell. That ain't no damn name from way back in Africa, West Africa. My name is Reid. That ain't no African name. But we adopted these things. We adopted their gods. We adopted their culture. Now we have Thanksgiving. We have Christmas. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's think logically here. The Babylonians influenced them. And that's how they created that into their history. It became a part of their oral history. And then with Berosus writing, they had to write a history, so they needed something to write it. Just like with the Egyptians, they needed something to go by. You can't write a Bible with 23,000 verses without some sort of reference. You have to have.
All right, hold on, Garfield Reid. Hold on, brother. Hold on. I have to call as they dying to jump in this conversation. So once again, I'm gonna take maybe a few callers right now, but we have a lot of show ahead of us. So feel free to press the number 1, guys. The number is 646-716-7320. Laron, I didn't forget you, man. I'm gonna let you reply, but I gotta get to some of these callers here that's standing by patiently. Let's go to the first call. Let's go to 678-544. You're live on air.
Hey, Shalom, Award Swordsman, a.k.a. the Fireman. Yeah, I want to say this to the brother name. I think his name is Garfield. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. Brother, you are I've listened to you before and heard some of your rhetoric. You talk a lot of blasphemous stuff, and you're dealing with these scholars as you see them, and they're not scholars. Now, I'm going to share this with you. The reason why I believe the testimony in Genesis about what happened and how the Sabbath day came to be and all that is these prophecies, things that were said to come to pass. That's your assurance. Now, I'm going to read the scripture that the Lord said, and you take this back to your scholars. This is Isaiah 41, verse 21 and 22. It says, "Produce your cause, saith the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob. Let them bring forth and show us what shall happen." So if you think that yours are true scholars and their words and their knowledge supersede the Bible, tell them to bring up something that's going to come to pass. Then I will believe it. This is how you know this Bible is accurate, and the testimony about the Sabbath is accurate. That's in Genesis that he showed Moses. He's giving Moses an overall what happened in the beginning with Adam. Okay, how it ended with the creation. That's where that Sabbath day come from, the creation of the Father. So how we know this Bible is accurate, the prophecy. So what I'm saying is, your scholars and where you're getting your information from, tell them to bring forth some prophecies, and I'll walk like you. That's my point. That's all I want to say.
Can I respond to the brother?
Go ahead.
Swordsman, I hear you a lot of time. It's not about blasphemy, brother. It's about revealing truth. That's what I do. I don't ever lie. I don't need a scholar, but we do need people who write information, and then we assess it properly. Now, in Isaiah 19:5-7, it says, "And the waters of the Nile will be dried up, and the river will be parched and dry, and its canal will become foul, and the branches of Egypt's Nile will diminish and dry up. Reeds and rushes will rot away. They will bear in places by the Nile, of the brink of the Nile, and all that is sown by the Nile will dry up, be driven away, and be no more." Now, ladies and gentlemen, this was written by Isaiah in the 8th century. It's been 2,750 years, and in all this period, 2 3/4 millennia, this prophecy has yet to be fulfilled. Moreover, it is clear that the context that Isaiah prophecy was meant for was for Egypt at that time. Brother, don't tell me about prophecy. Don't tell me about Deuteronomy. Hold on. Let me finish, bro. Let me finish, because I let you rock. You could bring your sword any day of the week. I will debunk every prophecy you bring, and I'll bring you the married prophet. Hold on, bro. I respected you. Aren't you a Hebrew? We got to be respectful. Now, listen. Married prophecies. Have you read the married prophecies? Have you read the Sibylline oracles? We have tons of prophecies, brother, that's written, that came through. We have even the white boy Pythagoras. Every prophecy he said. Hold on, bro.
Hold on, Campbell. You go get your time, Campbell. Go ahead, Garfield.
Hold on. Go ahead. Pythagoras, who we know for mathematics or whatever, Pythagoras, every one of his predictions came true. Should I follow Pythagoras then and be a Pythagorean? Brother, this is based off of old traditions of writing history after it happened. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. If you want to set up a debate about prophecies, you got Sal's phone line. I'll chop you up and show you what a real swordsman is. Go ahead, Laron.
Let me respond on this real quick. This brother right here, man, the debate is, did God give the Sabbath or did man make the Sabbath, right? Number one is this: whenever you deal with each one of these ancient cultures, the Sabbath or their day of rest, or when they ceased from rest, was built around their geography or their culture. So this brother say it was, and they believe God is the one who gave them this day. So this is dealing with these people and their history. So if it's dealing with their history, who are you to come and tell us or come and tell these people when we see, like for instance, he just gave you an Isaiah prophecy, right? What he does not know is that Egypt that we see in Egypt today is warring between the land of Israel and also Syria warring with Egypt. That land is definitely, that river is definitely going to dry up like the Most High said it is, brother, and you be prepared for it and be ready for it. And number two is this, the things that we're seeing taking place in Egypt right now and dealing with Syria and dealing with the Arabs and Islamic states, brother, it is to come. So when you talk about the Sabbath day and then we're talking about did God make it or was it for man, this is part of dealing with their culture. We just read that the Babylonians based their days, their 7-day rest, they based it on the lunar days. And you're talking about a calendar that they found in the one calendar, but prior to, they've been worshiping lunar days and set their calendar off lunar days, brother. What are you talking about?
No. Listen, Laron, you need to be specific here. They had a lunar calendar for a long time. So did the Assyrians. I don't disagree with that, brother. But as far as a 7-day week with a 7th-day rest, that's recent, 600 BC, brother. I'm not disputing about the lunar solar calendar. I'm talking about the Sabbath. And one more thing, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say something for the swordsman real quick. Isaiah 17:1-2 concerning Damascus. Damascus will cease to be a city and will become a heap of ruins. Her towns will never be deserted. It's been over 3,000 years, and ain't nothing wrong with Damascus right now. Ain't no prophecy going on nowhere. It is man writing. It's man writing stuff after and years later and telling us, hey, this is going to happen. This was created after 300 BC, but they want to call me blasphemous, throw words, throw names. I'm dealing with what your book says.
That's why we're going to deal with Daniel. Because when we deal with Daniel, the book of Daniel.
Okay, let's not go there, Daniel.
Stand by. Hold on, stand by. Yeah, we got some more callers. We got to get some more callers here, man. Let's go to the next call. Let's go to 313-571. You're live on the Debate Talk for You Radio.
Hey, shalom, brother Sal. Shalom, Laron. Shalom, Gabriel Reid. This is me, Kyle Ben Yisrael.
Yeah, shalom. What's up, bro?
What's up, bro? Hey, good job, Laron, man. You really getting up in there, man. And I've been listening. I ain't biased on you, Gabriel. You come with some facts sometimes, so I'm not gonna just, act like because I believe in the scriptures or whatever that you not bringing some facts. But your problem is your angle has a real flaw to it. You just stated out your mouth before he accepted this call that these things were written by men years after they were to occur, but they haven't happened yet. That makes
I never said that. I never said that, bro.
You just said it. Rewind the tape.
No, you're misquoting me. I said that people write things after time periods or after an event and then act like it's a prophecy. That's my point. Nobody.
Okay. I hear you on that. Now, see, this is the thing right here. People have to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand this. When you have two different mindsets, or you have a mindset opposing as he's being partial and not favoring one way, yet all of his angles is coming from a skeptical perspective, that's where you get the problem at. I'm going to tell you the truth. Everybody that tries to kick against the prophecies or the Sabbath or any of the laws that's set up in the Bible, they try to contribute everything that the Israelites had to take from taking different stuff from other cultures. Well, and in reality, if you really research history from a non-biased standpoint, you will see that everywhere that the Israelites went, they actually influenced the society they went into. You've read the papers of Hammurabi the Great, right? One of the first rulers of ancient Babylon, right?
Oh, my God.
Okay. I mean, you're a master scholar, so I would think this would be elementary to you. But if you go research Hammurabi the Great, you will see some of the same laws that came from the Hebrews. So you would ask yourself, well, how did he get these if they had not even been in there at that time? This is the thing. It was common with the culture at the time in that region. You see what I'm saying? Once they went from Babylon, and then you go into Persia, you know what I'm saying? The same thing happened in Persia. It's just as the same thing happened in Egypt. I heard you bring up earlier about osmosis and Moses. That's where you wrong again too, brother. Them two different dynasties. Moses was Amenem, not the fourth, and I can prove that. So this whole thing, Joseph was Yosef Imhotep. This whole thing can be proved easy. You know what I'm saying? So Laron, brother, big ups to you, man. You did your job. Gabriel, you real passionate, but get your study up, bro. Shalom.
All right, Garfield, you can reply.
I just gotta laugh when these people talk, man. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen, man. If you're gonna bring up Hammurabi Code, and for the record, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe some of the stuff from Hammurabi is in the Bible. But if you're gonna write a history and take from people, you're not gonna copy things word for word and say, hey, I took it from Egypt or I took it from whatever. We have to use logics. And when you use logic and common sense, it debunks belief. That's what it does. There's nothing wrong with believing in the Most High or following the laws and commandments. There's no beef from me there. All I'm saying is these stories that comes with the Bible to show exclusivity to one people over the next, it's just craziness. That's just my opinion, and it's not based on facts. Let's look at one example real quickly here. If you look at the Misha Stele, when it talks about Shemash or Kamash or whatever is in the Bible, if you compare the scriptures in the that it's relating to, what basically the writers did, ladies and gentlemen, is invert Shemash to be Yahweh, and the people who they were fighting, whether they were Israelites or whatever they call themselves or whatever the term means, they flipped that to the Moabites. So in many situations, in Numbers and all these things based in the Moabites, the stories are flipped based on what that Misha Stele says, because people don't want to read and understand things. This is what the writers did. They did not write 800 BC. They didn't write it 600 BC because there's no scripture. There's no evidence of a scripture. There's evidence of a story. Hold on, bro. There's no evidence of the scriptures, but there's evidence of the story from other cultures. There's no Hebrew statue. Anytime Laron gonna tell you something, look where he goes.
He ignored me.
He goes right to Egypt. I thought you hung up, brother. I didn't know you were still on the phone.
All right, I ain't hung up.
Let me respond to you now. Then I'm sorry. Let me respond to you. Basically, what you're saying is that if people copied, I don't believe anybody copied and say I'm gonna purposely do this and do that. What happened is in those areas, as you said, they had laws. It's just that whoever wrote the Bible recognized that there were laws. There's nothing wrong with recognizing laws. Laws are good. Commandments are good. So when you hear somebody say, oh, they took this from the 42 negative confessions and 8 of the commandments matches or whatever, it's not even about that, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest. It's about the fact that in that region and area, you had the Assyrian code. You had the Urnamo code, which in some cases are word for word, ladies and gentlemen. Review the Urnamo. Word for word in certain places in the Bible, they took it word for word from the Urnamo, which was 2350 or 2150 BC. So now, ladies and gentlemen,
I ask one question and I get off.
Let me say this. So now, when you have all these regions with these laws, of course, if somebody's going to compose a book, they're going to be like, hey, these are our laws and whatever, because you can't trace no book to 800 BC or 1200 BC. You can't. It doesn't exist. There was no writing before 300 BC. So whoever wrote the Bible had to go by tradition, and then at the end they had to make up a history.
There's no writing? Is that what you just said?
There's no writing from the scriptures. No writing from the scriptures exists.
Okay.
It doesn't exist. What am I, deaf? What am I talking something Spanish?
Let me go ahead, Mikael.
I just asked him this one question, Laron, and I'm gonna sit back on mute and I'm gonna listen to y'all, but I'm gonna stay on the line and listen. Okay, now let's be reasonable with each other. Let's remove all the emotions. We're gonna do this like scholars. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give you enough rope, brother, to deal with yourself. Choose it wisely. You just said, Garfield. You just said again, and I agree with what you said. You said that it's only plausible, it only makes sense that if a society or a group of people, let's say the Israelites in this case, went through all these other already based civilizations, that it's only sense would pick up some of their culture, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it fair for me to ask you, why is it not possible for the other cultures to also pick up from the Israelites? And let me add to that question, and let me add to it. When you bring up the written, you keep bringing up what was written, which I'm pretty sure that can be debunked too. But since you want to focus on what is written, let me ask you: is it not possible for oral tradition to go on for such a time until it is written, like the doggone people? What about the doggone people, the doggone tribe in Africa? They go back ancient, thousands of years, and they still have the same oral story that just recently started getting recorded. So how is it that the Israelites didn't have an oral tradition before it was written? And how is it that the Israelites can take from other cultures, but other cultures can't take from the Israelites? I would like to really hear your honest answer on it.
All right, that's a very reasonable question and a very, very honest question. I respect that from you, Mikhail. You're my dude from Chicago. Listen, what I'll say to that is this: what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and this is what I want people to understand. Oral tradition, I could tell what's oral tradition or what somebody's making up. For example, if you talk about the unleavened bread, the unleavened bread is a part of oral tradition. A lot of people might not know this. Unleavened bread, I could trace unleavened bread back to a culture where they used to perform this 7 days a week. They used to have a blood on their door, just like Passover. So now when you see that in a culture, and you see now in the Jewish culture, you say to yourself, or the Hebrew culture, you say to yourself, well, this is possibly where the roots come from. So now as far as you now saying that the people picking up from Israelites, my brother, if you read the Bible, Israelites never established anywhere, according to the Bible, they didn't have a kingdom until approximately, not saying I want to follow this chronology, when David's time, Saul, David, Solomon time. So we're talking about 1100 or 1050 BC to 900 BC. So now there was no kingdom for somebody to establish a history and say, hey, they wrote this or wrote that. So I would not say that people took from the Israelites. I would say the Israelites took from other people. And this is it. Because if they went in 70 people to Egypt, came out with millions, thousands or millions of people, right? That means they were already in Egypt. They were enslaved. So they got information out of Egypt. How could they teach the Egyptians? So now, when they left Egypt, they went to the wilderness, and then also with the Joshua tradition and so forth. Now, who did they pick up from during that tradition? There's nobody there for them to pick up from except they was beefing and chopping up everybody in sight, according to their history. So now, when it comes to David now starts beating up everybody. Who is taking tradition from the Israelites? There's nobody taking tradition from the Israelites. So now, when the Assyrians come and they start steamrolling the Israelites in Israel, and they ship them to Babylonian or Israel or Syria or whatever because they were cursed, 2 Kings 17 verses 18, they now are now traditionally, they were taken to the Assyrians by the Assyrians. The Assyrians try to take over, the Egyptians then take over, and then now the Babylonians take over. So now you see every story that's in the Bible and Kings and all that stuff, you can relate it to different cultures, but it's not people taken from the Israelites. It's the Israelites taken from people. There's no situation. There's no stone. Where's the Israelite stone that we could read right now with the history of the Israelites? There's no writing from them.
Let me ask you a question, brother. You talk about that there's no writing, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I had a debate, and I talked about Jericho, right? I talked about briefly some of the things of the Armana letters. Who was the Habaru? Who was those? Who was the Aparu? Who was those?
You can't say the brother. The upper room was loose nomadic people, bro. You can't say the upper room. Hold on. You asked me a question. Let me can't say the upper room is the Hebrew. You can't say that, bro. Let me
explain to the people though. The Aparu are the Hebrews, like he said, was nomads. There was what they call wanderers. They was taking over Canaan, right? What they call a conquest, right? Now, trip off this. This was during the time of Akhenaten. Most people would disagree with that, but it definitely was during that time because the Armana letters is what mentions the Aparu or the Haberus, right? And these are nomads, and that's what you call the Hebrews. The Hebrews are wanderers. The people who come across the flood are what you call people the wanderers.
All right, can I ask you a question?
No, I'm not I don't want you to answer the question. You've been talking the whole.
All right, hold on, LeBron. Hold on, both of y'all. Yeah, man, we got a lot of callers, man. You got a whole, I know you guys taking out the information, though. There's a lot of information out here. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. We have a whole lot of callers. I got to get to the callers, guys. I got to get the callers. I apologize to my special guest. We got to get some of these callers in the conversation. Let's go to 615-578. You're live on the air.
Yeah, peace out. What's up, man? It's Lex, bro. How you doing?
What's going on, brother Lex? Bruce Leroy. What's going on?
It's chilling, yo. Once again, we are witnessing monkey intelligence, brother, just to say it the least. Like, look at the reasoning of people whenever they want to go against the Bible. The reasoning is so circular and flawed. For one, for instance, saying that there's no writings before 300 BC. Everyone says this tune over and over again. But we know that the writings that came about in 300 BC in the form of the Septuagint was translated from another writing. Now, when you talk about the Israelites traveling to different areas and different people, when you read the book, it testifies that they was getting involved in the people's cultures, and the prophets and God was prophesying them getting involved in their cultures. So we know they was getting involved with their cultures, but in the book, in the text itself, it is outlawed. One of the main themes of the book is not to let these other cultures come and invade your culture and the laws of God. This is one of the major themes of the book. So for someone to come along, right, and say that now there's no other nation on the planet, right, that just goes around stealing people's stories and decided to compile it, this is a dumb conspiracy theory. So I said this to him before, back in 600 BC, these group of people who never existed, but they somehow said, we have no culture, so what we're going to do is get enslaved by 6 different people and then steal their stories and compile it in a book so we can have a culture thousands of years from now and write ourselves into history. This is nonsense. This is absolute stupidity. We know that whenever in America, right, he said that these people were influenced by other people because they had no land. How much of the world is influenced by black people who have no land, but the whole world is influenced by hip-hop culture? Even though we've took on some of their customs, who has influenced who more? Whose music is being played throughout the world? Whose slang is being used throughout the world? Who's being imitated throughout the world? Is it not the black people in America? Without land or state or culture, we would be considered nomadic in a way today. So this is what I mean by the stupid-ass reasoning. Peace.
Oh, man. Little language, bro.
Hey, first of all, listen, man. This Christian dude, you come on, you bark, you talk like you're intelligent, you're smarter than everybody. It don't work. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, ask this dude, if there's no writing, if there was a writing before the Septuagint, ladies and gentlemen, produce it. Where is it? How come the Septuagint exists, and it don't exist, if they copied it from somewhere? You have to study transmission history. This brother obviously don't have any knowledge about it. But it's just like if you study the elephantine papyri. The elephantine papyri, a lot of people like to lie. You talk about scholarship, they like to lie and say it's the Passover papyrus. That's nonsense. Nowhere in it does it say Passover. It talks about unleavened bread, again, which is a part of the oral tradition. Now, if you look at these people writing, they don't know nothing about Moses' law. They don't know nothing about the Genesis creation story. They don't know nothing about certain things that they should follow, because they were polytheists. So if these people in Elephantine, who also wanted to build a temple outside of Jerusalem, which was also forbidden according to your Bible, at the time the temple to perform sacrifices, but that's another case for another time. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, your Bible that you believe in, no verse exists of the 23,145 verses before the 3rd century. He now says to us that it's a ludicrous conspiracy, whatever. How does somebody write a book of that volume without a reference? You have to have references, brother. They had Berosus. And if we compare Berosus to Genesis 1 to 11, you see Nimrod in there. You see a part of the creation story in there. You see the Noah story in there. You see, and just to prove my point, the term Genesis, which is whatever in Hebrew, Bereshit or whatever, was first used by Berosus. So the folks who wrote the Bible decided to call their book also Genesis. These books never existed. As a matter of fact, Exodus was written before Genesis. You have to know the history. Whether you want to believe me or not,
Come on, man.
Hold on, let me listen. Hold on. When Lex was talking, you never stopped it, brother. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
One at a time, fellas. One at a time.
Hold on. Now with the Sabbath, let me get back. Hold on. Let me get back to the Sabbath.
Let me give you a time. We got a whole lot of time.
Because with the Sabbath, if you notice, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's basing the Sabbath off the Bible. I don't think the Bible is the word of God.
What about
you believe
what
that.
The
solar lunar calendar was by the Babylonians. Why are you following?
Why are you following the Babylonian?
Why do you have a month for Tammuz?
Hold on, Garfield. Let LaRon get some time now. Go ahead, LaRon. Go ahead.
Egypt had a lunar calendar too, and a solar calendar. So what's your point? And it was based, and we just read the text when the text just said to you that the sun and the moon was used for signs. And they use the sun and the moon for signs and seasons right now, brother. How is that? That's crazy that you even bringing up this whole argument. If these people, number one is your real beef is trying to prove if the Bible is an historical book for reals with your argument that you having tomorrow. Now here's your problem right here. You don't find the mention of Jericho from no ancient text. The only written mention of Jericho is in the biblical account, brother.
Because it's made up.
Hold on, let me finish. Stand by. Hold on, so like Lex said, why would somebody need to come and make up something when they could just come and take your stuff, bro? Where is Timmy? It's history, bro. And you know why they history? Because the Most High said he was going to put them down, bro. And he put them down. And you know why he put them down? Because they was oppressing the people through a new world order knowledge that was given to them. That was given to them from the elite. And the first thing that they had was the serpent knowledge. And the serpent knowledge was you should be as gods, knowing good and evil. That was the new world order that they set up, was to disobey God to regain knowledge of the gods. So we see now that these people went into Kemet and oppressed the people through that knowledge, brother. That, number one, that's what we see taking place. Number two is this. We see this stuff going on all over the globe to where the elite is oppressing the people through the empires. Somebody typing in the background again.
All right, Garfield, stand by. I got to take some more of these callers now. Hold that thought. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. This is your time, guys. You can chime in at any given time. I see we have a lot of people standing by with questions. So let me go to the people. Let's go to 706-956. You're live in the air.
I just want to say one thing. I wish I would follow a book to where the author, the first book he wrote in 1587 was on demonology. King James. Look it up. That's all I got to say. It's a wrap.
All right. LaRon, you can reply, guys.
Yeah, first off, number one is the Septuagint and the Masoretic text predates the King James Bible any day. So what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? We got biblical texts that go way back to and verses that go way back to 300 BC and before BC. So what is your premise? What does King James have to come along do with translating the Bible into English? Had to do with it being translated from Greek in the first place? What is that? What that's kind of silly. What you just even asked and said when these people actually predate King James and was going through and these people was going through getting killed, catacombs, and Christians getting killed. So what are you talking about?
Religious state of mind. That's all I have to say on that. Just a religious state of mind. Refuse to see outside of the scriptures. Refuse to see outside of what is written from King James. That's his version. That's why it's called King James Version, because that's his version.
Well, she said that's his version. Okay, now watch this. We have the Dead Sea Scrolls and also the Masoretic text and the Septuagint that predates King James that lines up with each other with the King James. So what is this?
It still can't prove to me the Sabbath outside of the Bible. I'm not able to show my children the Sabbath outside of the Bible. I got to get him the faggot King James. I got to give my children that. No.
And listen.
No.
Number one, it deals. You talk about a faggot, right? But you let your children listen to all this music, which
I don't. I homeschool my children. I do not. I homeschool my children.
And then you talk about a faggot. What do you give them? You give them Kemet? Because we know they was dealing with homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? What's up with that?
Read, study, bro. Study outside of them scriptures. Study outside of that Bible.
Exactly.
It's not even no scripture study outside of that Bible.
What's up with the homosexual story? And
I got pictures.
I appreciate the call, Garfield. You can reply real quick. Go ahead. We got to take some more callers, though. Go ahead, Garfield. Go ahead.
Listen, you can't. Anybody want to say homosexuality is in Egypt or in any culture? Listen, man, you can't tell what's going on behind anybody's bedroom at any time. Laron could be screwing Lex for all I know. So at the end of the day, I leave that alone. To each their own. I'm against it 100%, but to each their own. I leave it right there. You want to talk about Kemet? I don't know how Kemet get into the conversation.
She needs to study a little bit more, man.
I have no idea.
She's talking about King James. When we have the Bible being translated down, we got text that predate the King James, and then once the Dead Sea Scrolls was found, it lines right up with the King James. So what is this sister talking about, man? This dude didn't write this. When you talk about let me break something down real quick before we go on to the next caller. Number one, black people don't understand terminology. First off, when we talk about version or when we talk about authorized by King James, whenever you put a book out, the book has to be authorized first off for you to put it out, and it has to be published first off. Now, whether or not you want to get the book edited or whatever the case may be, that's your thing. But number one is this. When we talk about the language, and we deal with a language, they were speaking a different type of English during that time, so they printed a version dedicated to the English that they were speaking that time. So this sister don't even know. Just because you see something was authorized, it just means that you have to get you needed authority to get it authorized. In other words, you couldn't just go and get it done. You have to get it approved to get it done before you can put anything out here. And that's just how it is, man. You go publish a book and you just throw it out.
Let me respond to this real quickly. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen. We can be fooled by believers all day long. Nothing that this Bible produces, no other culture didn't produce. They have laws and commandments. Every culture had laws and commandments. You had a God, they had a God. You have different rules and regulations, they had rules and regulations. The point of the matter is, why don't we find history of these people who are called Israelites today? Why don't we find their artifacts? Why don't we find their Misha steel, their own Merneptah steel, their own David steel, Solomon steel? If this greatness happened, look at this, ladies and gentlemen, from a logical point of view. When King Hazel took over so-called Israel, which was Samaria, because no culture called it Israel, by the way. But that's another topic for another time. When King Hazel came over and ruled for 40 years, and he destroyed the town that allegedly Goliath lived in and flattened it, they noticed that all the buildings that were built by this dude here, King Hazel. The Teldan steel that people like to refer to is his brother, the Aramean king Hazel's brother, who wrote the Teldan and was telling a story. Where is the Jews writing anything? Where are they? These people, if you want to talk your culture, Apiru, and say that's the root of you, and leave out Nubia, and leave out Sudan, leave out Ethiopia, and claim Apiru as a people? Are you serious?
Are you serious? Because let me say something real quick. Number one is this. Where is Kemet today? Where is those African Americans or those native Egyptians that said they was building today but still building straw huts? Number one, when the Caucasians came into Kemet and they looked at these, they said these people didn't build these pyramids. These people still eating off of doodle patties to make fuel. You know what I'm saying? These people still building huts, are still in indigenous and don't know nothing about math or science. So number one is this: if you ain't building today, was they building back then? No, them is not the same people. Number one is this, and another reason is this: they was dealing with an elite system. Those people was enslaved and was caused to build back then. Those people didn't want to make the pharaoh or get charged 10% for their land, and that stuff was free to them. The pharaohs went into those people's land and took their gold and took their economic resources and dealt with them in a political manner to where they tore down those lands. So if you're building an argument with that, y'all need to show me that y'all was building pyramids because y'all ain't built nothing since then. What y'all doing now? What is Kemet doing now? Nothing, man. So your proof is not even valid.
All right, my brother. I don't know why you keep bringing up Kemet. What does Kemet have to do?
Yeah, I apologize, my brother. I knew he was asking the question. But we got to take some more of these callers. Let's go to the next caller. Let's go to 252-883. You're live in air.
Peace, Brother Sal. This is Brother Raheem representing New York. Peace to Laron and Brother Garfield. How y'all doing?
Peace, brother. Peace, brother.
Well, basically, Laron's an intelligent brother, but Garfield did his thing. What I want to say is, I just had a debate with a brother talking about Islam stole everything from Israel, which is a lie, and I proved it with documentation, right? And now the brother Garfield is showing history, because I got some of that stuff he has, so I know what he's talking about. My thing is the fringes, things like circumcision, which comes off the wall of Horeb, which is 2400 BCE, is before Abraham. So they had the Israelites to get the circumcision from the Egyptians, and that can be proven. And like he said, they got different things from different cultures. It's not phony what Garfield is saying. And tonight, the brother is teaching, if people don't realize it or not. And the sister, she what she said, if you didn't catch on with what she was saying, you need to play back exactly what she was saying when this is over with. But Brother Garfield is you did a marvelous job, and I'm not saying LaRon is like ignorant or anything. It's just that's his belief. And Brother Garfield, keep doing your thing. And that's all I got to say. Right now, I'm kind of like baffled because the brother laying it down. You know what I'm saying? So, you doing it again tomorrow? You doing a debate tomorrow, Garfield?
Yeah, with Zadat Ben Israel. We're gonna do the term Israel before 300 BC.
I will be tuning in, and that's all I gotta say. Peace to both brothers, and Sal, I'll catch up to you, and Garfield, I'll catch up to you. Peace.
All right, peace. Is the mic open?
I think Sal must have fell off, but my thing to that I got to say about that is teabag. That's for you. You're getting teabagged over the Raheem. Stop playing games with it. But anyways, yeah. This brother, when we talk about
why he got to be teabagging though? Why you have to? Why you just can't?
Hold on,
listen to Mikael. I gotta listen to Mikael.
Am I still on? Am I still on?
Yeah.
Hold on. Brother Laron, I'm a Muslim. I didn't disrespect you, and when you say things like that, I don't take kindly of that type of terminology when we're supposed to be scholars and we're talking. So if somebody agrees with your side, Brother Garfield is not doing anything to be like disrespectful.
You just had a debate against somebody, right? Dealing with was Islam or was Islam basically?
Right. But I didn't say Bible, right? I didn't say nobody was teabagging or I disrespect him.
Debate, right? So you coming in biased from the get-go, from the first place, because your main premise is against the Bible. So let me deal with what you said first off. When you talk about circumcision or when you talk about the different things, let's talk about how Egypt circumcised, right? How did they circumcise? It wasn't the same as Israel. Did they circumcise on the 8th day, right? So who all was circumcising at that time? Was Egypt the only people circumcising? Was there other people circumcising?
Okay, Laron, let me answer that. Let me answer that real quick. Go ahead. Laron, give me a date that predates the Egyptian circumcision, and I'll believe you. And that's all I got to say right now, if you could do it.
No, I'm asking you, was there other people circumcising?
Yes, I just told you Egypt was circumcising before Abraham came on the scene.
Brother, listen, I'm telling you, was there other people circumcising outside of Kemet? What is the tradition?
Yes.
Brother Laron.
Let me read it for you. Let me read it from Herodotus.
So listen, were they circumcising on the 8th day? Because as we see, hold
on. You see, this is the problem, Laron. Because of the 8th day, you don't want to give Egypt credit for circumcision.
Exactly. Evidently,
you better than this, B.
Listen, brother. Everything there was an oral tradition. It was passed down. In other words, when the Most
no problem. Bro, I agree with you. Even Herodotus said the Colchians, the Egyptians, and the Ethiopians are the only races which, from ancient times, have practiced circumcision. The Phoenicians and the Syrians of Palestine themselves admit that they adopted the practice from Egypt. No other nation used circumcision, and all of these are without doubt following the Egyptian lead. So Raheem is right.
All right, so hold on, brother.
First
of all, when we deal with Kemet, right? We deal with the Nakata II period, right?
Oh boy.
Are not those people in contact? Are not those people in contact from Mesopotamia that come into Egypt and teach Egypt knowledge and give them a culture?
Laron, all I'm asking you is to prove to me.
That's what I'm asking you, brother. Where did they get their information from? Did not they? For instance, when we talk about.
Hold on. Let me answer that question. Let me answer it. The Egyptians, as Wallace Budge has already proved, said, and Herodotus said that they got their culture and everything that they practiced, the rituals, from the people of the South. Who was the people of the South? Before they became Kemetians, which Kemet, Egypt, wasn't even on the map. It was a marsh. The silt from thousands and thousands of years put that land there. They said they came from the South.
Right?
Hold on. They said they got their culture and their creation story, okay, which created two people on a potter's wheel, okay, which is God Khnum. They got their story from their ancient people that was before them. Before them was the Bardarians, and before the Bardarians was the Kusha Dwipa. That's thousands and thousands of years before Abraham even came on the scene. And I'm asking you, give me a date.
I'm telling you about Nakata, brother. I'm saying Nakata 2. I asked you about Nakata 2 and Nakata 1. We have Asiatic. Hold on, brother. We established. That's what I'm telling you about a culture. We got Nakata 2 came into Upper Egypt, right? We found the cemeteries in Canais in the Eastern Desert, right? Would you agree with that? So Nakata 2 and Nakata 1 was two different people. One of them was the fathers of Seth, one of them was the fathers of Horus, right? So when they come in, Nakata 2 come in with ideals, but it was Mesopotamian contact with the Nile Valley natives. And they brought certain things to the Nile Valley. One of the things they brought was the pear-shaped mace. We talk about that all the time in the group, which is in the 4th millennium BC. You don't see that pear-shaped mace until the 4th millennium BC. So we know that there is contact with Mesopotamia because this mace is found in Mesopotamia. The Nakata 1 period, they uses a disc-shaped mace. So one contact between these two people, of the Mesopotamians coming into the Nile, they bring new ideas, which is the proud ships that you see now, it originated in Mesopotamia, right? So these are things and concepts that originated in Mesopotamia that came into the Nile Valley civilization and started off in the east. And not only that,
Laron, before you go on, I agree with you. Egypt influenced people as well as they was influenced. We was talking about circumcision. You went way off the topic.
So what do you think circumcision? That's what I'm telling you, brother. When they came in, they the ones who brought in the actual religion and structure on Kemet in the Nile Valley indigenous natives now. Why do you think the pharaohs attached beards to their face? Because they was giving honor to the Mesopotamian brothers of the East. The whole story of Nun Ki, of the mighty place of Egeru, when their temples face to the northeast, deals with them looking to the northeast and facing their temples to the northeast to give honor to the Owl of Flame, which is Nun Ki, or the mighty place in Mesopotamia, bruh. In other words, God was born in the east, and they died in the west, and went to the underworld to be back resurrected in the east as the sun, which rose in the west. Sun set, and also, guess what? Heru, horizon. So these two.
Yeah, Laron, I apologize, brother. I'm kind of pressing for time. I got to go to the next caller. Once again, it's Debate Talk for You. You know that number, 646-716-7320. Let's go to 925-457. 925-457.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm here listening to the program. A lot of good information coming from both sides. But in reality, you know, the bottom line is like Garfield was on the subject of the Sabbath, what he was saying earlier. Hey, man, if you go into the Bible for your source, at least explain from what the Bible says. When was the Sabbath day instituted? I haven't heard the guy, Laron, say when the day was instituted. And then you're going all the way back from when they left the land. You know, you can give a date, but you're going from creation to when they left the land out of Egypt, supposedly, and saying, you know, at some point between there and there, it was held in tradition that the day was established. That right there doesn't make sense. So they was given the Sabbath day when they left the land, which, you know, it depends on how you look at it. It was, to say, 3,000 years later after it was instituted on creation. And, you know, when you put it all together, nothing they're saying is making sense on that end. When they're talking about the Septuagint, you know, it's the 70 men wrote this book, or 72, whichever tradition you use. What did they translate it from? So 70 Hebrew books that they translated from? I mean, where are they getting their information from? Then you look into the language, the Hebrew language. It didn't exist until, the 9th century BCE. There's no records, no artifacts, anything of that entire language. You put everything together, what you have is a wonderful work of, a Lucas, creative work. You're talking about people can't make up stories like that. We look at these stories from Star Wars to The Hobbit, Tolkien, all these stories. We see these stories all day long, So now they're saying that you can't put it together in a book the way they did in the 4th century. Well, hey, they're doing it right now in the 20th century. They were doing it back then. It's all a smoke screen. It's time for y'all to get out of the clouds, wake y'all asses. Wake up from the dream you guys are in. Stop trying to steal somebody's history. You guys, all you are, the black Christians, trying to be something you're not. Get out of that world, man. Get out of that world, and then you can figure out.
I apologize. Laron, you can reply. Go ahead.
Yeah, this brother, he talk about trying to steal somebody's history. And this brother say that these people they kill me because they say they built the pyramids but ain't building nothing today. If you build the pyramids and have some type of knowledge, please build today. Please build something to get yourself up out of your oppression. Show me we're on this phone right now doing blog talk, and this is something that was created by your oppressors, right? So can you show me something that you can build today if you was the people that built that stuff back then? Show me that. You can't show me none of that. But does that make your ancestors not relevant or them not being in history? No, it does not. Just because we see you guys not building that stuff right now doesn't mean it wasn't your ancestors. You building the same case that we're building. I'm telling you that there is a conspiracy in the elite that has come in, and this elite that has came in has distorted information for us dealing with what you guys are talking about and for us dealing with what the biblical text is saying. And we see that the biblical text is saying that these people was a people. Why would they come now to make up a history when they could have just came and took your stuff like they already did? Like when you see what are you going to do? Are you a threat to them? Why do they need to make up a history or make up something where you're not even a threat to them? They can come and take your stuff like they have already done. What you going to do about it? You're not going to do nothing about it because you can't do nothing about it. Where's the science to keep what you had that was yours?
All right, let's let Garfield jump in.
First of all, if you listen to what the brother said, the brother never said anything about Kemet. He doesn't know what the guy believes in. What Laron has been doing all night, ladies and gentlemen, is mass distraction. He doesn't want to deal with the facts. I have been stating the whole time, yes, the Babylonians had a 7-day week. They did follow the lunar solar calendar, and now the Hebrews follow it. So when you celebrate anything, ladies and gentlemen, you're actually following the Babylonians, who your Bible was against. So that's the hypocrisy I want to bring out. Now, the next thing is I want to make it clear to everybody, the worshiping on the seventh day as a rest day comes from Babylon. Nobody has proof. And I asked him at the beginning, when I made my opening statement, I was real harsh and I got to the point. Brother, show me a reference where people are following a Sabbath before 600 BC. Show me. He has yet to show me. He's gone way to Nakada in Egypt, way to Didymos, Manetho. Brother, just show me that. I'm going to give the people one example what the biblical writers did, just to make the point what the brother was making. When the Persians destroyed the Babylonian Empire in 539 BC, a Babylonian scribe known from the Babylonian Cylinder wrote that Marduk, the god of Babylon, raised up Cyrus of the Persians to destroy Babylon and his people because they sinned against Marduk and forsook his temples. A 9th century BC Moabite scholar speaks of the historical event where Omri and his son Ahab conquered the land of Moab. But the Moabite scribe also claimed that Shamash, the god of the Moabites, allowed Omri to conquer his people because they sinned against Shamash. When Cyrus conquered the Babylonians, he allowed the Jews in captivity to return home. But a Babylonian archive claims that Marduk, also the Persian god, also allowed the Jews to return home. Yet both Isaiah 45 and Ezra 1 claim that it was Yahweh's doing. So we see that what the biblical scribes were doing in presenting historical events through a theological interpretive grid was actually part and parcel to a larger Near Eastern literary convention. So ladies and gentlemen, the stories can be real, but what they did an invert. So they changed the names of the god from Marduk or from Ahura Mazda or from Shamash to Yahweh and gave Yahweh the credit. We're not lying, bro. We're just telling the truth. I'm a revealer of truth. That's all I do. But I could find the Babylonian cylinder. I could find the Moabite stone. I could find all of that. But where is the Hebrew original? It don't exist. We're not playing games here, ladies and gentlemen. We're dealing with facts. So with the Babylonian Sabbath, 7th day, that they rest, it came from them. Yes, the Jews may have taken it and remixed it, give it a Puff Daddy remix. Yeah. But hey, where did it come from? Where's its roots? It came from Babylon. That's my point. Take the next caller, Sal.
Hold on. Laron, I know you want to say something briefly. Go ahead, Laron.
Yeah. There's number one, there's no information that has been pilgarized. All have the same information. All was one tongue. If you see something that you say may be original, that does not mean that it's correct. We see a priesthood being set up since the times of Nimrod or Emmekar, the mighty hunter, and we see the people failing the priesthood, and these people begin to take on other gods. So number one is this. When you talk about information, you talk about information that was passed down that the keepers kept, but they perverted the information. As the words say, that those that held the truth but don't walk according to the truth and perverted the information in the book of Romans, they perverted this information since the beginning of days early on. So when they perverted the information just because it was passed down doesn't mean that it was true. When Moses came along, he gave the truth of the matter, and not only did he give the truth of the matter, he demonstrated, as Manetho said, a blast of God smote Egypt, and Israel walked up out of Egypt, and we can debate that all day long. When you want to talk about Duty Mose and the 13th dynasty, you never mentioned a response to that. You got to talk about Mose in the 17th dynasty. We wasn't dealing with that. When these are two different people, what about Manetho's account of the 13th dynasty dealing with Duty Mose or Tuti Mayas, which a blast of God smote Egypt, and they walked up out of Egypt, and the Jesus came into Egypt. Let's tell Sam the Bible.
I apologize, LaRon. A lot of information being put out there, a lot of information. For those people that just joined into the show, today's show is actually entitled The Sabbath, Created by God or Man. The Sabbath, created by God or man. I know it's a lot of extra information out there, but, you can utilize it and put it towards your studies. Once again, the number is 646-716-7320. We have a whole lot of callers standing by. I apologize. It's a whole lot of callers out here, but I'm going to try to take as much as possible. Let's go to the next caller. Let's see who's here. Let's go to 912-247. You're live on air.
King, shalom, Israel.
Hey, shalom.
Peace,
shalom, how y'all doing? Everybody good?
Peace, brother. How you doing?
Peace.
Well, firstly, I'm Yasha ben Yisrael. Some of y'all might know me. If you do, shalom. If you don't, hey. So we're talking about the Sabbath day. And I'm going to prove it really simply, okay? We know that, as the brother was explaining, can everybody hear me just so I can understand?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Hallelujah. So the brother was commenting about they took another people created a thing and took this information and gave credit to Yahweh for it, and he didn't do it. Well, that's incorrect. I'm going to show you why. If you go to Shinar or Babylon, Babylon's name is called Shinar. I was a soldier in the military. We deployed to a place called Iraq. Iraq is Babylon, called Shinar. There was a king called Nimrod, the mighty hunter. Nimrod had a kingdom and a calendar that was based off of a prophet named Hanok or Enoch, a 364-day perfect calendar that comes from a book called the Book of Enoch that 90% of the world says is one of the oldest books of prophecy ever. So what I'm saying to you is this. Nimrod had a kingdom called Shinar in Babylon. All of his subjects in this kingdom spoke only one language, Genesis, the 11th chapter. Now, the whole world was of one speech and one language. Now, it was a Babel that happened, and all of the languages split. But every single language, hallelujah for your word, every single language has a rest day in it called Sabbath or Shabbatan or any other variation of this word for the last day of the week. Check it. Google it on your phone. Everybody listen on the phone to it? Google it. Google what the word Saturday means in Sabbath. It means rest. Every single word in every single language, when it explains the seventh day, calls it a rest. Because in Genesis, at the beginning of the world, before there was a Nimrod or whoever else, there was the Father named Yah. He created the world, and the first thing he did after them 6 days was set apart one day. And every single language in the world calls this day differently, but yet they call it rest. That's the first thing. Second thing, Google it on your phone. Every single country in the world has a proof that there was a ship and a man named Noah and an ark. The Bible has a record stating that a man named Noah. Now, this is how we know if the Bible is true. There is a record of a man called Noah or Noach who got off a ship. Every single history of the world says this flood happened, and all of these humans you go to the store and go to work around are cousins of three people, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their father was a man named Noach, and Noach spoke Hebrew. As a matter of fact, his name Noach, or Noah, is a Hebrew word. The word Nimrod is a Hebrew word. The word Hashatan is a Hebrew word. Japheth, Hebrew words. The first language in the world was Hebrew. The first people in the world were Hebrews. Adam and Eve spoke Hebrew. So what I'm only saying to you, brothers, is the word for rest in every language is Sabbath or Sabbaton or anything that's going to do with the word rest, which is in the Father's book. He put the Sabbath day in every man's language, and it has been the same forever. So all people agree that the Bible is real. All the people agree that Noah is real. All the people agree to this. We know and agree that Nimrod spoke Hebrew, and that then there was...
I apologize, brother. you gotta run out of time here, brother. All right, Garfield, you want to reply? I know you want to reply, Garfield. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Do I really want to say this? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, listen, man. Garfield studies history, archaeology, external evidence. I've been a Christian for many years. I stopped following Christianity. When somebody comes and says the book of Enoch, they have no knowledge. You don't know what you're talking about. And let me see what Laron, I was going to say let Laron respond first. Because if Laron responds to this, brother, I know what Laron's mindset is. He'll be just as crazy. I'm sorry, brother. I'm not trying to call your name. But what you said was just so crazy. Because the book of Enoch, ladies and gentlemen, is several books. And they're dated between 100 BC and 300 BC. So it falls into the same category as the Bible. Nobody knows who wrote it, when it was written. It's just a book that's written in the history and for the time that it was in. So if somebody said Enoch was written and that he said Nimrod and that is proof, how is a book written 3,000 years or 2,000 years later proof of what really happened? Are we in a different galaxy right now? Are we really thinking, ladies and gentlemen? The book of Enoch is just as fraud as the Septuagint is. It's man-made history. Man wrote it. No inspired man wrote any book. Man wrote the book. Stop the foolishness. And about Noah, in every culture, me and Brother Laron went back and forth about this already. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of speculation. There's a lot because I could go to Jamaica and Jamaica have a flood story, and I know Jamaica didn't mention no Noah. I could go to Cuba where my father is from, and I know he ain't got no damn. I'm sorry, Sal. And we could go to China. China don't have no Noah in their story. Come on, brother. Don't come on here and bring misinformation. I'm a revealer of truth. If I'm wrong, and Laron has checked me many times on his show. If I'm wrong, Laron would testify that you know what, you're right, brother. I don't deal with lies. If you're going to come on a show and quote from the book of Enoch, the book of Enoch is not an original writing. You don't even know who wrote it. So how are you going to say that this book is true? So why the books in the Persian history, Ahura Mazda, why we ain't serving him then? They say they have the word of God too, and they have stories and all these traditions. Why don't we worship Marduk? Don't they have a lot of written tradition too, talking about he's God, he's the one God? Come on, brothers and sisters. We got to use common sense. This is a pooling of the stories. Pooling. People take writing for the times that they're in. We cannot use these books as historical because it's based on a tradition. We don't know if it's true, false, or what. Now, as far as the story, I do believe a flood happened. I believe that a flood happened. But I don't think a flood happened globally. I believe it happened locally. And when it happened locally, Laron would testify about Egypt and the flooding and all that stuff. He'll get into all of that. But I believe one of the flood stories that's in Sumerian, in Mesopotamian history, I believe it happened. That's a whole other story. I have information about it. I don't want to get into that. My bottom line is, brothers and sisters, how could Enoch be a testimony for if there's a Sabbath or not? If it was written 300 BC, between 100 and 300 BC. As I said before, provide proof, ladies and gentlemen, that a Sabbath existed before 600 BC. I am not saying that the Babylonians did exactly what you do, but they don't partake in things on the Sabbath. Like I won't partake in things on a daily basis because I don't believe in a Sabbath. I just live a good life. I try to live a good life every day and follow the laws and the commandments. So now that means my Sabbath is every day. I believe I should treat everybody the way I want to be treated every single day. So at the end of the day, Sabbath was created by man. Nobody has been come on the ear instead of religious zealots and prove that the Sabbath existed before 600 BC, before the exile. That's when it's documented that they are following a Sabbath. They're not going to follow the exact same thing, Laron. Laron, if you teach 2 and 2 is 2 plus 2 is 4, I'm not going to come back and teach 2 plus 2 is 4. I'm going to say 3 plus 1 is 4. And that's what the Bible says there.
Well, it's
come on, man.
Odd. Well, it's mighty odd that we're still doing the Sabbath day today, rather when you're dealing with jobs and all types of stuff just as well. And when you talk about the similarities in the culture, that just lets you know that the world was of one language. And when we talk about dealing with Nimrod or Emmerkar, that lets us know that the world was of one language. And and we must realize that how can something be pilgrimized if the world had the same information? Now, the confusion of the tongues caused people to disagree. And when they disagreed, they separated and they start having disagreements on which God was which God because of the languages. For instance, some people call Nimrod Osiris in Egypt or Asar, or some people call him Baal. So in different parts of the world, he's called something different, but he still stands for the mighty hunter all over the world as depicted in our constellations. So we still know that this character is of real and importance because we see this character similar in all nations. So when you get to talk about the Noah's flood, that it was globally, that it wasn't globally, well, you have to explain the separations of the continents from Africa, from the North Americas and South Americas, and the oceanic seas just as well. You have to give account for that because there's plenty evidence of a worldwide flood or something catastrophic that happened in the future. For instance, they found mammoths with tropical food in their mouth. Now, how can that be? And we know what portion of continent that they're on. So they just let us know, and they said that they found different animals with fish in their mouth, and the fishes would snap different ways, letting us know that a sudden calamity took place in this process, which caused the separations of the continents, and this didn't happen over millions and billions of years. So your argument, we have written accounts of dealing with the biblical text. There's no reason why these people have to come and make up something when they can just come in and just take what you got. Come on, now, let's be for real. You're not even a threat.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question right now, Laron. We're not going to get into an argument. When was Nimrod alive? When was the date of his? When was he in existence?
We have probably doing about 30. I'm gonna say 37 to 35, 33 BC in that area.
All right. So now,
I'm gonna say in the fourth millennium.
Okay. All right. No problem. Now, did Nimrod born before Ham or Ham before Nimrod?
Nimrod was after Ham.
All right.
Nimrod
so when was all right? So how many years was Abraham before Ham or Abraham before Noah?
You said how many years was Abraham before Noah?
Yeah, before Noah, before the flood. How many years was Abraham after the flood?
I'm not sure. Probably about 100 to 2 years in that area. I'm not sure.
So you're saying that the flood happened around 2700 BC then? That's what you're saying?
No, it couldn't have possibly happened before then. It couldn't have happened during that time. It had to happen before then.
Before when? What's the date of the flood? Give me a date of the flood. Give me a date of the flood. We're not arguing.
Listen, I'm going to give you dates to what I know, to where I can stick.
No, I'm not arguing. Laron, I'm not arguing, brother. I'm asking you, when was the flood? When was the flood? Just give me a date.
Let me give you this date. In the and the Gabal El Barak knife, right? Okay, we have a knife, and on this knife, it has Emmerkar. And this knife was found, and the knife was found in the Nakata period, right? This knife, it dates back to about 3400 BC in the Millennium period, right? Now on this knife, it has on one side Egyptians on one side and Neolithic ships, and on the other side it deals with Nimrod, which is a mighty hunter, right? So how are these things associated with each other? So we know that Nimrod had to be back doing the mighty hunter because he's always seen mastering lions or mastering beasts. He always had, and he has a beard, and he's dressed down with a robe down to his ankles, right? So we always see him mastering lions, and this knife is in the 3400 BC period, right? So we see this knife. How is this knife associated? So the flood had to be before this knife, right? Would you agree to that? Because
hold on. Can you just give me a year, please?
I don't know. I'm gonna say the flood probably took place I'm gonna say about 100 years before 34 BC in that area.
So 3500. So the flood happened.
So
the flood happened 3500 BC. That's what you're saying. Around that time. Are you right?
I'm gonna say the fourth millennium deals with from 4,000 to 3,000. In that area, that's when they have this knife dated. This knife is dated around from the fourth millennium down to 3,000 BC.
So you're saying like around 3500 BC was the flood?
I'm gonna say from that area. From that area.
All right. So now you're telling me now that between 3500 BC and ladies and gentlemen, time, chronology and stuff, me and Laron don't really like the whole time thing, but we're going to use the system that we have in place. 3500 BC, ladies and gentlemen, is approximately 5,500 years ago. Now, if you look at the chronology of the Bible, you're telling me now that Abraham went into Egypt. At what time period?
I'm not sure.
2400 BC, because you're obviously following some of David Rowe's stuff here, which is crazy in itself, but that's a whole other story. My brother, what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to what Laron is saying. This is very important. 3500 BC, maybe the flood was. 3400, he said around 3700 was Nimrod first, then I think you said 34 or whatever. You caught yourself. Now, if Nimrod was 3400, was Nimrod 100 years after the flood?
Yeah, Nimrod was 100 years after the flood.
Nimrod was 100 years after the flood, right? Now, according to Samarian history, when was Nimrod born on their king list?
And Emmer the mighty hunter?
Mm-hmm.
He's born around that time. And we have that knife.
No. You got to be honest, brother. He was born 2600 BC or 2700 BC, according to their king list. So now you're telling me Nimrod is this guy, but yet still you're saying he's born 700 years earlier, according to what you're saying.
This what I'm telling you. We can play with the chronology all day long. I'm telling you this. In that car, a knife was found. It's called the Gabal El Arak knife. You can look it up. This knife has an Egyptian artifact. It's an Egyptian knife, first off. It has pre-dynasty Egypt fighting with dealing with Neolithic ships and high-prow ships. This knife is dated to 3050 BC, right, in the Nakata II period. The Nakata II period is in the fourth millennium. It's from the 4,000 BC down to 3,000 BC. That's the fourth millennium, right? So on the other side of this knife is a depiction of a Mesopotamian who's holding two animals, who's grasping two lions with a bird. This is in that card. This is the mighty hunter. He's always depicted. So I'm telling you that the flood was before then. That lets you know that the chronology conflicts with what this knife is talking about. Because if you say that the flood, if they have the flood probably around about like 2700 or BC or in that area, well, how can that be when we see that in that car, the mighty hunter, which should not predate the flood, which come after the flood? So therefore, the chronology is definitely off. So when you're using astronomical dating according to eclipses, it tells you that the chronology is off. So we can play the chronology game all day long. But the stars
but bruh, can I just say this? You did say that he was in Ermcar time, and Ermcar is 2700 BC, and you said he was born 3400 BC. So you made an error, obviously. You said Nimrod was around 3400 BC, and you're saying Nimrod is the same guy as Emmer Car, whatever his name is, who was 2700 BC. So you don't think that's an error? You know what? Let's stop. Stop. If you have more callers, let's take more callers, man.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, you got to take some more callers, man. Got to take some more of these calls. Once again, it's Debate Talk Radio. The number is 646-716-7320. I see we having people comment on Twitter, on Facebook. commented on the show, listening via social media. Once again, I really appreciate everybody that's listening. So via social media and via Blog Talk, and of course calling in on Skype or on the phone. We got to go to the next person, though. We have a lot of people standing by with questions. Man, I appreciate your patience. I know you've been waiting for a long time. Let's go to the next person. Let's go. Let's see. Let's go to 408-393. You're live on air. 408-393. You're live on the Big Talk Radio. 408-393.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, what's up, Sal? What's up? Hey, I didn't actually have a question, man. I was over here tuning in the debate. I must have hit the button by accident, man. But it was a good debate. Oh, man. It's a lot of good information going forth, man, between Laron Campbell and Garfield. Garfield put out some stuff that I might want to have to study later on. But
say that again,
I don't know,
brother.
man.
I didn't hear you. You said that what?
No, I said you put out some information that I might have to look up. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but man, it's an interesting debate.
You know what, bro? Me and Laron chop it up every day on his show, and he's in my group, Comedic Science versus Hebrew Israelites. So if you want to come there, join the group. You could ask any questions. Laron is a good brother. I love him like my own brother. So we might hear us going back and forth. It's all love. It's not like these other debaters who just take everything personal and say, I ain't talking back to Laron no more. Laron calls me clown. Lex calls me names. They're still my brothers. It's just that we don't share the same belief, and I love the brothers. So let's put it out there. Go ahead, brother.
No, I've heard Laron in other debates as well, and Laron he's a good brother from what I've heard, but at the same time, I just don't agree with. I wouldn't have tried to answer that Babylon. I mean, the birth of Nimrod. I wouldn't try to answer that just to throw out a random answer. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, if I don't know something, I'm so fast.
He lied about it. When you look at M.F. Carr, you can Google it right now. His time is from 3,500 to 2,750 BC. In other words, that's where they have him dated to. So it's a possibility that he's in that time range what I just gave you guys. So he definitely did a disservice on that because I'm looking it up right now. So in other words, the knife dates back also to Nimrod in the 4th millennium BC during that time. His time, and they have the knife dating from
Hold on. I'm looking at it right here, brother. M.F. Carr is the son of Meshkikan. He's from the 27th approximate date between the 27th and the 2600 BC. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I found if you type in M.F. Carr, I find
No, I'm looking at the list, brother. He's from the first dynasty of Europe.
And I'm looking at the same thing, brother. Type in M.F. Carr.
I'm not typing it in. I'm looking at the Sumerian king list. I'm looking at the listen. Sumerian king list. I look at it, and I'm looking at it right now. It's in my face. So you're telling me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing? It's 2,700. Ladies and gentlemen, don't take me and Laron's word. Just Google Sumerian king list. Don't take our word for it, because we are both liars right now. All right? Sumerian king list. See for yourself. He's on the first dynasty.
I apologize, man. We only have like 19 minutes on the air. I got to take a few more questions from the people out there. Once again, it's Debate Talk Radio. The number is 646-716-7320. We kind of went out of time, so we got to go to the next person. And please keep your questions and comments a little brief, man. A lot of people are long-winded tonight. Keep it a little brief because we went out of time. We're trying to get to as much people as possible. So let's go to 215-457. You're live on air.
Yes, Islam. I was listening to the show tonight.
Peace.
This is Peace. This is Brother Laron James Bay. And I was listening to the show tonight when both of y'all, doing y'all thing. Y'all saying a lot of stuff that is true. So I'm not really debating against both of y'all, but the Bible itself lets you know that the Sabbath was being executed even way before the Bible was even created. Now, if you're talking about going back to Egypt, now the definition of Egypt in the back of the Bible says a land of northeast Africa. Now, so basically, everything that we talking now is basically all teachings that came straight out of Africa. Now, from what the sister said when she came up and said, the fact that King James, I mean, I don't know where that came from, you know what I'm saying? But the storyline is in order, you know, from the creator of the heaven and earth, and then these scriptures that came. First it was the Bible, then it was the Quran, and then it was the Torah, okay? So now everything is all in order. So everything basically came out of the land of Egypt. So basically was working and had to take 1 day of rest. They could have worked every day, but it had to be 1 day of rest, to where that you had to, even though we give praise, but you give praise that 1 day on the seventh day, you know, that's when man was created. And you know, it's both of y'all have a lot of good knowledge that's going on. But you can't, you know, but from the beginning of time, you can't, you know, it says it right there, you know, in the scripture, that everything began in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Even it says it in Deuteronomy, I might be pronouncing it wrong, Deuteronomy, page 7, chapter 6, verse 11, even says it took the bondage from out of Egypt. Okay, now then it says in the back of the Bible, the definition of Egypt, a land of northeast Africa. So everything that we basically talking about tonight is our culture, and not only is our culture, and this is what we was going through the beginning of the time. So you know, like I said, that you know, even this is our culture that you know that we talk about even from the beginning of the time. You know, so even the Bible states that everything was created come from Africa. So basically, you know, both of y'all is not even wrong. But the brother was saying that he don't know where is the proof at. Well, the proof is in the, you know, you can read in the back of the Bible, and it has definitions. It also has definitions in the back of the Bible, so you can read in the back of it too.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, bro. Let's move on to the next caller. Let me jump on to the next caller. Hold on. Let's go to 912-660. You're live in air. 912-660.
Hello?
Yeah, how you doing? Loud and clear.
What's going on? I got one question for the brother that say that the Sabbath is God's word, or God's, you know, whatever. Where can we contact this God to verify this? Y'all can read all the history y'all want, read all the books you want. Where can we contact this God to verify that this is God's day, and God said, let's set this day aside? That's what I want to know. Where can we contact this God?
You say what?
LaRon.
Basically the God of Shem. Hold on, brother. Basically the God of Shem been running things, and he running things now, and the proof is in the pudding. Because where can we contact the Comedics at? In slavery, in bondage.
Why Comedics got to come up though, bro?
Hold on, brother. Hold on, Let me finish. So when you talk about where can we contact this God, this the same God where Manito said a blast of God smote you. So if he smote you and somebody walked in and took this stuff and they still in your stuff, then that's the proof that's in the pudding. Because while we arguing about ancient stuff right now, we must look at today and see what's happening. The God of Shem is running it. And the Asiatics have came in and took everything you got, and they still in your stuff. And what you going to do? Nothing.
Hold on. Let me say something. That's not answering my question. I said, where can we contact this God so we can get verification? I don't do religion. My only religion is food, clothing, shelter, protection. All that other shit, y'all can have. That's my religion.
Well, anyways, and I want to bring out something real quick, because this brother just told a real quick lie. I'm looking at Mnet Carr right now. There's no date that's given for Mnet Carr. Anybody can look it up on the King's List. This brother is lying.
Yeah, man, cut that brother off, man. Hold on. I'm gonna let you reply. Hold on. There's a lot of new callers calling in. Y'all probably don't know the rules, but y'all gotta keep it clean out here. Keep it clean when you're calling into Debate Talk Radio.
Can I say something? Ladies and gentlemen, Google Sumerian King List right now and go to the kings of Uruk. You're going to see the first one start at 2700 BC. Below that, he doesn't have a date because he's between 27 and 26. Be careful calling me a liar, Laron. We could clown me, but chill. Don't say that, brother. Don't say, brother. It's between 27, brother. It's between 2700 BC and 26. He's beneath, in between. He's in between. He's in between 2700. Oh, so now you don't like the dating. Hold on. Let me respond. Let me respond, brother.
Does the king list come with dates? Does the king list come with dates, brother?
Yes, it does.
So you telling me this king list has dates on it?
No. The king list that you're looking at, if somebody Googles it, would have the date.
So who made these dates, though, brother?
I don't.
Come on.
So now you want to get specific because you look stupid with a 700 difference? Come on, bro. Stop that,
man.
Stop it. You should have never. I keep telling you, Nimrod is like Jesus. Hold up, bro. I keep telling you, Nimrod is like Jesus, bro. He's a compilation of several different characters. He's not one person.
All right, hold on, y'all. Kind of getting out of hand, one at a time. But I still got to go to the people, though. We have like 11 minutes on the air. And once again, for a lot of new callers out here, we got to keep it clean. We have a lot of people listening with their kids, things of that nature. So please, if you're calling in, no foul language or you'll be blocked from the show. All right, so let's go to the next person. Let's go to 410-212. You're live on air.
Peace. How's the brothers doing tonight?
Peace, brother.
Peace.
Okay, yeah. I will have to give up to Garfield, man. He coming with that info. He got all he's connecting all the dots. The chronology is on point, and I would say Garfield, he's doing his thing with this debate.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. So, but one of the brothers that called, I think he was a Hebrew Israelite brother. He had no facts whatsoever. He was just throwing out just a whole bunch of myths and half-truths or no truths at all. How can Adam and Eve speak Hebrew? Hebrew just means to cross over. What kind of sense does that make? You hear me, brother?
Exactly. Book of Enoch and all this nonsense.
Hebrew is just a verb meaning crossing over. Anybody could be a Hebrew that lived in that region. So that's BS, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate the call.
Sure. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.
You can reply, Laron. If you want to reply, go ahead, Laron.
Yeah, my number one is this. Garfield, when we did this debate, he the one picked the topic. So I didn't pick this topic. Garfield was talking about this in the group. I never came to Garfield about this topic. I told him we could debate Daniel, the book of Daniel, tonight and get it in. Garfield backed up out of that. Garfield picked this topic out of manipulation, but it does not matter because when we're dealing with the chronology, we must understand that there is no actual BC dates, first off. BC dates are according to after Christ died and deals with before Christ died. Common errors, basically. So our whole dating system is built off of a chronology that was built in the 17 to 1800s, man. So when we talk about we building a history according to synchronisms of when these kings met in this time, there is no dates listed on these kings.
Listen.
Hold on, brother, let me finish. There is no dates that's listed on any one of these kings. We have built a chronology for these kings according to a list of order that has no dates on it and supposed to what we feel is when these kings reign. We built this chronology. So first of all, it's flawed, and new evidence is coming forth that it is flawed because it's contradicting the evidence is coming forth. So this brother, man, he already so if anybody knows anything about chronology, he can play that game all day. But astronomical dating does not. Astronomical dating does not fit.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir. Hurry up, my brother. I wanted to respond. Let me respond after the brother speaks. Go ahead.
Okay. What's the connection between the Sabbath and Saturn? The planet Saturn and the Sabbath? Is there a connection? Because you get the word Saturday, and you know what I'm saying? Because it has to be some type of connection. Why they choose Saturday as some type of, a rest day or, day just to worship and do whatever.
It deals with the new moons. It deals with the sizes of the moons and also of the Son. That's all it deals with, which the ancients has been doing, and we see that the sign was given to Adam, and it was given to his children. So when it came down to Israel, Israel just took off the ways of the Egyptian calendar, and they began to take on the ways to what was given them from Adam's time. That's all they did. That's the only thing
Brother,
they did.
Adam didn't exist, brother. Come on now.
Okay,
I know you don't believe in no Adam and you really believe in the Adam and Eve.
You can say that all day long, Diddy. You could call it the myth or whatever it is, but we know that when man became a self-conscious being and started to look on his nakedness, then we know that he began to start going into people's other land and taking what was in the next man according to what he looked on, which was his self and his nakedness, and covered himself. So the story has a reality to it. We still see these things going on today. We still see people looking on their nakedness and cover themselves with the elements of the earth, taking other people's land and taking other people's stuff. We still see this nature of good and evil, the self-consciousness in man to this day of leaving a state of God consciousness to be obedient to a state of self-consciousness. So whether or not you're going to say it's truth or not, it's still going on today.
Hey, Sal, you got I don't want to respond, man. I don't want to respond. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make it clear to everybody. The Bible has good things in it. There's laws and commandments I try to follow every day. I try to treat my brother the way I want to be treated. But the stories, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot claim exclusivity when the stories obviously. Look, I read earlier about the Babylonian cylinder, how they changed the name from Marduk to Yahweh. It is obvious. What is the proof, Garfield? Because the Babylonian chronicles, they wrote it down. And then their enemies wrote it down. The Persians wrote it down, and the Babylonians wrote it down. And they were enemies, and they agreed. When enemies agree, what does that mean logically? There must be some sort of truth in it. They don't like each other. Why? Hold on, bro. Hold on. I make you speak for 2 minutes, bro. Come on, man. It's not a debate, it's a discussion, isn't it? And then you complain about the topic. You should have said no. You shouldn't have complained. Why are you complaining?
No, I
you can't complain now. Yes, you are, man. Yes, you are. But the point of the matter is you were not able to produce a document that shows historically that a Sabbath, people were following a Sabbath before. So show me. Where is it in the Bible? Show me the original manuscript then. Show me the manuscript dated. Show me the manuscript dated from 600 BC, bro. Come on, man.
Okay, listen. Hold on, brother. Show me the Kemetic text that you say that we stole from y'all. How do you know that it's being translated?
What are we talking about now?
Hold on. Listen, brother.
He Kemetic the whole night.
Listen, brother. The scrolls that you're talking about, or what you're talking about when we talk about the Rosetta Stone, the Septuagint predates it. The Rosetta Stone was made in 190 BC. So hold on, brother, show me.
Move on to the next caller, Sal. This don't make no sense. What are you talking about?
Yeah, hold on, man. We got like 4 minutes in the air, guys. We got 4 minutes in the air. I'm just going to take maybe 2 more callers, and after that, we're going to I'm going to let the brothers get like a little bit of final statements, to basically, give more information on what they're talking about with the subject. So once again, I will take 2 more callers, and after that, we're going to go on. Once again, I know I know a lot of you guys, talking on social media. I get a lot of responses on Facebook. And a lot of brothers that's calling in. Let me just say this: a lot of brothers that call in, if I happen to cut your call off, don't take it personal, man. Brothers taking it personal. I got to move on to the next question. We got a whole lot of people out here that got questions, so never take it personal when I cut you off. It just means I'm trying to get to the next person, and I got to try to get to as much people as possible. So, but I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate you calling in, asking your questions and your comments. Once again, it's the Big Talk Free Radio. You know that number, 646-716-7320. And by the way, tomorrow we have another debate tomorrow, guys. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Garfield is back. He's going to be debating Zadok with Israel, and the topic will be archaeology in the Bible. Is the name Israel documented in history before 300 BC? Once again, archaeology and the Bible. Is the name Israel documented in history before 300 BC? That's going to start again tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss the show, Debate Talk Free Radio. Let's go to the next person. And once again, keep it brief as possible. Keep it brief as possible, please. Let's go to 732-986. You're live in air.
Yeah, Sal, this is Jeff. What's going on, man?
Hey, Big Jeff. What's up, brother?
All right, man. First of all, great lineup so far, man. You're doing your thing. I got a question for Garfield. I heard his brother on a couple of shows now, and I just want to know, what do he stand on? Because he said he don't believe in the Bible. Does he believe in Babylonian customs? Is he Kemetic? Is he an atheist? Because I'm confused, because then the brother just said that he keep the commandments. So if we give up the Bible and follow what you follow, please tell us what you stand on. And also, and this is for a lot of brothers, because I hear them go at the Bible, what is it that y'all doing in y'all life that will make our lives better? Because y'all act like we crazy because we believe in all these myths. So what are y'all doing that's going to make us better? And that's it, man.
Hey, good question, my brother. Well, at the beginning of the show, I did say that, a couple of things me and Laron can agree on is that there is a Most High, and following the laws and commandments is not bad. Now, the point of the matter is I don't need the Bible to have laws and commandments because they're in other cultures. So that means those laws and commandments would have been passed down anyway to me, depending on who colonized the country that I grew up in. So at the end of the day, we had to thank the Roman Catholic Church. As much as we're anti-Roman, we would have all been Muslims because the Muslims were trying to take over the whole world. So if the Roman Catholics didn't stop them, we would have been talking about Allahu Akbar right now. But my point is, brother, as a replacement, I don't tell people don't believe in the Most High. I don't tell people don't follow the laws and commandments. If you want to know what I'm doing, you could join my group Unite, and you see that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to establish a national database for black businesses. I'm trying to clean up 1 million people's credit. I'm trying to buy farmland. I'm trying to build a nation within a nation. That's what I'm trying to do. Now, as far as living a better life, as far as living a better life individually, I don't know what your life is missing, what my life is doing, but I try to treat my brother the way he treats me every day. So as much as you see me and Laron back and forth, tomorrow we're going to be on the phone laughing about the Sadat Ben Israel debate. That's the type of relationship we have. But I'll say this, my brother, I'm not telling you to give up anything. I'm just pointing out, revealing truth. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. I never said put on a book. I never said follow my way, and that's what's wrong with us. We like to follow instead of researching. We are lazy. Not saying you, brother, but on a whole, we are lazy. We don't want to do our own research. So don't follow another man. You need to worship your God and let him guide you the way you need to go.
And real quick, Sal, because I know you losing time, but if we want truth and we follow all these different things, then we just going to be pulled in all these different directions.
No, you're not being pulled. You're not being pulled.
Brother.
You're not being pulled, brother. What you're being doing is you're being taught the true story about what really happened. So if Shamash was really the God that did it, and the story and the writers changed it to Yahweh, you want to know the truth, brother. That the guy who wrote Isaiah was lying. That's the bottom line. Ezekiel, when he predicted X, Y, and Z, it didn't come true. When Isaiah predicted stuff, it didn't. Don't try to manipulate people's minds to follow a book that we have no root in, my brother. We have never written our own history. We don't have it. They've all destroyed everything. They destroyed Alexandria. They destroyed all the libraries that held our history. Come on, my brother. Egypt, they ransacked Egypt. Ethiopia, we don't even know what's over there. We don't even know what's in Sudan. Come on, brother. We need to write our own history under our own terms. There's nothing wrong, again, with believing in the Most High, following the laws and commandments. But if you're going to say that you're the chosen of God and that everybody else is wrong, that's where I have a problem. Because I have no right to tell the Persians or the people who follow Zoroastrianism that they are wrong because they're still worshiping a God. They might call him something else, but who am I to say that you're wrong because you're worshiping a God? I can't do that. But if you're saying that you're exclusive, that you can't go to heaven or can't see a hereafter, or you won't be a part of the 144,000 because you don't do this or don't do that, or you didn't name this Israel, or you didn't name Shu or Sal or Campbell or Reid or Sal, that's wrong. We can't do that. That's what divides us. If we all say we believe in God and follow the commandments, there's no division in the black community. There wouldn't be a division. But once we say we are Israel and once we say we are Muslim, that's what divides us, bro. That's what divides us. Nothing else does. Go ahead, Sal. Next caller.
All right. Laron, you want to reply, Laron? Go ahead, before we move on.
Yeah, once again, when we talk about the Bible, the Sabbath for God,
the God created, the man created. We still have Israel coming up out of Egypt and coming from out of the Egyptian calendar, which he talked about earlier, and taking on the calendar that was given to them from the get-go upon new moons and also holy days and Sabbaths. It was initiated to Adam as well. So we see these things taking place. So therefore, when we see the customs back in the Middle East, they just went back to their Eastern customs. It was dealt with a lunar calendar, whereas Egypt started dealing with a solar calendar. And that's it, all right?
Thanks. Good job. Next caller.
All right, guys. All right, so what we're going to do right now, we're going to just go into the final statement time. And once again, I'm going to give each brother 7 minutes, for a final statement. Once again, I appreciate everybody that called in. I wish we could get to every single caller, but time doesn't permit. But once again, I appreciate everybody that called in with their questions and their comments. Once again, don't take it personal. When brothers start, they got to go to the next caller. Don't take it personal. And the information that you hear, make sure you study and research the information. That's what it's all about. It's all about hearing both sides, taking the information, and studying the information for yourself. That's what Debate Talk For You is all about, and I appreciate you being here. So let's start off the final statements. I guess we got to go to Laron since we started off with Laron. We'll open up his phone line. And Laron, go ahead. Final statements.
Yeah, basically, let me sum this all up in this because this is the whole matter that we need to look at. There were some customs or some things that was initiated to Adam and to the Adamites for them to do. And we know that some people did not keep the charge, as we can see, because that's why they in the position that they in, including Israel. So if this biblical text is not true, it is disturbing of the accuracy of the things that we have seen taking place in Kemet, the things that we have seen taking place in Assyria, also in Babylon, also with the Medes and Persians, and with the Grecians, as well as with Rome, and then as well as this revised Rome that's to come, and also the Eighth Kingdom, which is still with the Islamic states, taking over the European Union. So we see that the Most High has moved through these through these cultures or through these nations of sons of Shem, Ham, and Japheth that has not kept the charge from the get-go. We see this, and we see it lining up with the scriptures, and that's why these antichrists, they hate to hear anything from the Bible because it's so accurate and it deals with everything that's in their life that they can't get away from it. They sleep, eat, and breathe Bible. And as much as they backslid from the biblical text, they can never get away from it because guess why? They see it happening. And the same biblical text that these people have taken and have used, they have conquered with this Bible. And if their gods were mightier and if their gods were stronger, why haven't their gods came to help them? And if they had the science, why are they in the position that they're in now? So once again, we see today as fact that if Shem is God and he's Lord and he's reigning and taking place, and he's putting these kingdoms up and putting them down and allowing them to be at derision with one another. Therefore, he will establish his kingdom on this earth because the sons of Noah has not walked accordingly and has not walked upright, as we see in the text. So, and as we see as looking at it now. So when we get into the book of Daniel on the 29th, we're going to deal with this. The brother didn't want to debate it tonight, because I'm already ready to get it in. And he has a debate coming up tomorrow, so we're going to check that out. But let me bring something out real quick so we can see what's going on. It says, for the wrath of God, this is Romans 1 and 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. It says, because that which may be known of God is manifested in them. In other words, what may be known of God is manifested in the ancients, in Adam's descendants, in us also. It says, for God has showed it unto them. So God has showed us things, and we have not upheld the truth. So Moses, it comes down to Moses to uphold the truth because the ancients prior to them did not keep the charge. And this is what we see during Nimrod's power, and this is what we see why the flood, by reason of the flood, came about, because we see that people did not keep the charge to obey the Most High, the Creator, and cut him off from being the source. So this is why we see our world degenerating today, as the Bible explains the origin of evil and everything that's taking place in this land as we see it today. These nations have been put up and put down. One nation has came in and went out. We see that men looking on his self-consciousness or looking on his nakedness and clothing himself with the elements of the earth at any expense, as the Bible says. So it is disturbingly and accurate that the Bible that you say is a myth, these things are actually happening. So with that being said, we see the lower nature in man and the goodness is in man, but we've seen him being overtaken and overpowered by the wickedness that was of the fruit of that tree, which is in every man today. So this brother, we've seen this stuff happen today. He cannot explain through the books of Kemet. He cannot explain through the books of the Babylonians in any other culture as the book of the Bible explains the state of man today. He cannot explain none of those things, but the biblical account best explains our world climate and the things that we are going through now. There's no other book out there like that. It explains there's no other book that explains the New World Order. There's no other book that explains artificial food production. There's no other book that explains prophecy like the Bible. There's no other book that explains history like the Bible. You wouldn't even know anything about Jericho. You wouldn't even know anything about the Hittites. You wouldn't even know anything about Nimrod except that you read the written account that deals with Nimrod and his events and the things that he did and how the world was of one tongue, which we know that has taken place. And with that, good debate. Well, it's not a debate, but a discussion. Some slick stuff was played, but it's all good. Hopefully people still got the info, and I yield my time.
All right, once again, let the people know that probably call them later on about your radio show and where they can check you out. Yeah.
Okay, you can check me out at G Consciousness Radio. We actually finna log on and do a show tonight. We finna deal with the Feet on Ground ministry or whatever they got going on over there, Black Power movement. The brother's been putting forth some false scholarship and some false information, so we finna go live here in about 10 minutes and deal with them. You can reach me at G Consciousness Radio, Blog Talk Radio. Also on Facebook, you can reach me in my group called Bust the Bible Like a Rifle. My Gmail is laron498@gmail.com. You know what I'm saying? And you can also reach me in the group of Hebrew Israelites versus Comedics. I'm in that group. I got some information in that group Garfield has not disputed yet. So he pulled a little slick thing tonight, but it's still all good. You know what I'm saying? The information still got out. Hopefully people get the information. So it's good.
And once again, Laron Campbell, I appreciate you coming on last minute, making the show, another classic tonight, bring out the information. And once again, guys, you're going to be on right after this. So if you want to check out his show, make sure you go to www.blogtalkradio.com. Laron Campbell, check that out. G Constant Show, you can check it out. All right, so let's go to Garfield. We got 7 minutes for his final statements. Garfield, you can go ahead, brother.
Oh, boy, never cease to amaze me. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. He said the Bible is right and correct. I said, I beg to differ. There are many contradictions. I'm not even going to deal with that right now, but I'll say this, though. The book of Joshua preserves two traditions, one claiming that all the Canaanites were exterminated, the other claiming that they were not. Two versions of Saul's death. Let me get into a little thing that I wanted to read earlier, but I didn't get to read it. What these writers did, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a fact. You can go and look at Assyrian writings from the 700 BC. It still exists. And these people have their stuff written in stone. We don't have any Bible to confirm whether this is right or wrong. So this is why these guys, they'll get mad at me for pointing this out, but they need to ask themselves, is Garfield telling the truth? Listen to this. The Assyrian king Sennacherib conquered and burnt the land of Judah and besieged Jerusalem in 703 to 701 BC. We have both extra-biblical, biblical, and archaeological data, a burnt archaeological data to be exact, that affirms this. Yet,
Sennacherib did not conquer and burn down Jerusalem. Why? Here's how the biblical scribe answered this. For he shall, 2 Kings 19:32-35, for he shall not come into the city, says Yahweh, for I will defend the city to save it, for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David. That very night the angel of Yahweh set out and struck down 185,000 in the camp of the Assyrians. When morning dawned, they were all dead bodies. But this did not happen. How does Garfield know this? Because Assyrian records, as well as contradictory Bible records, 2 Kings 18:15-16, asserts that Hezekiah paid a hefty tribute of gold, silver, ivory, even his daughters, to the Sennacherib, and re-established his vassalship to the Assyrian king. Why did the biblical scribe above say it happened as a miracle, even placing this event on Yahweh's lips? It's called propaganda, ladies and gentlemen. Who did the scribe work for? The king? This was part of a larger political and literary program of presenting Hezekiah as loyal to Yahweh, and also presenting the benefits of that loyalty. Yahweh would save the city. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, this is not Garfield making stuff up. This is what the Bible writers did. They switched it around. Because why do you need to pay somebody money, gold and silver, if you have a God that's going to protect you? It don't make no sense. Next, let's look at this. Ezekiel 29:8-12. Thus says the Lord. Ezekiel 29:8-12. Thus says the Lord God in the land of Egypt shall be a desolation and a waste. No foot of man shall pass through it, and no foot of beast shall pass through it. It shall be uninhabited for 40 years, and I will make the city of Egypt a desolation in the midst of desolated countries, and her city shall be desolated 40 years. I will scatter Egypt among the nations and disperse them through the countries. This passage takes the cake for the most prophecies proven wrong. Egypt has never been desolate and waste. Men and people have always walked through it. There's never been a single moment, let alone 40 years, when Egypt was uninhabited. Egypt has never been a desolated country surrounded by more desolated countries, which is nonsense. Its cities has never been desolated for any period of time. And finally, there was no Egyptian diaspora. Ezekiel then also writes in verse 29:20, I have given him, Nebuchadnezzar, the land of Egypt as his recompense for which he has labored, because they work for me, says the Lord. Unfortunately here, too, he failed, because Nebuchadnezzar never, and I repeat that, never conquered Egypt. Is Garfield making this up? Does the Bible say it? Yes, it does. I could go into many prophecies that have failed. So when this guy Swordsman called, and I'm sure he's going to want to debate me one day, we'll debate Deuteronomy 28:68 and show how phony that verse is, and on all these verses that people like to point out, all these camps, not the dudes like Laron who don't point out that foolishness. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, this debate was about the 7-day week. Look at it again. The Babylonians created a 7th, 14th, the 21st, and 28th as holy days, also called evil days, meaning unsuitable for prohibited activities. What is your Sabbath? Your Sabbath is a day when it's unsuitable for prohibited activities. On these days, officials were prohibited from various activities, and common men were forbidden to make a wish, and at least the 28th was known as a rest day. So now, am I saying that the Jews copied it? They had the concept. They took it because they had the concept indwelled in them, because they were exiled for over, 40, 50, 60 years. Look at us. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying to you right now that the Sabbath that you celebrate is based off a lunisolar, not the lunar solar calendar, but of a concept of rest on the 7th day, coming from Babylon. That's what the debate was about. There was no, and I'll read further up, the origin of the 7-day week is the religious significance that was placed on the 7th day by ancient cultures. Now, yes, he read it, but he didn't put the full stop. The earliest ancient sources record a 7-day week in ancient. You remember that? The earliest. That means nobody before them was doing it. It's recorded in history. So you could quote Genesis, you could quote Exodus, you could quote anything you want, my brother. And if you notice, Laron, every time he's going for evidence, he goes into other cultures. Why don't you find your own artifacts, my brother? Where's your people's artifacts? Where are the Israeli artifacts? Where are those to point out that Garfield is wrong? He can't, because they don't exist. So when it doesn't exist, you have to start thinking to yourself, why do they have to take stories from other cultures? The Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Sumerians, the Hittites,
all over. They're taking all these people's cultures, stories from their cultures, and following them. The Hectareus of Abdera, he says that the Jews are the Hyksos who were expelled. He talked about Dudamos. Weren't the people that they were talking about were expelled? Those people were expelled to Jerusalem. Where did they go? And those people are the same people that went into Greece, into Egypt. The same people. Ladies and gentlemen, I've proven my point. The Babylonian system is the root of Sabbath. Why would a God need to rest? It don't make no sense. You have to serve God every day. There's not a day you don't give honor to the Creator. So every day is your day. Now, you don't rest because you're in a Judeo-Christian society that has a 5-day week and you rest on Saturday and Sunday. That's how it's basic. But not everybody. People work on Saturday and Sunday. Come on, brothers and sisters. This is rooted in Babylon, and the Bible condemns.
All right, Brother Garfield Reid, 7 minutes is up. Once again, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you bringing forth the topic for the show. And last minute, coming on and making another classic tonight, Debate Talk for Radio. Let the people know, for those people that called in the middle of the show, let the people know where they can check out your show and other information as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, they could check out my show at blogtalkradio.com. It's Real Talk Live. It's Real Talk Live, and they could also check me out in my group, Hebrew Israelite versus Kemetic Science. You can come in, ask your questions, be respectable, and we'll answer whatever questions we can answer. And also, you could check me out on Unite, my group Unite, Urban National Internet Trade Exchange. If you're into nation building, if you want to be a part of what I'm doing, we have over 1,000 members. And we're trying to build a nation within a nation. So that means we're trying to get a national database for every quote-unquote urban business so that whenever we decide not to shop in their business on the Columbus Day and all these days, we have options. We have applications where you could punch it in and so forth. And also I have my own Facebook, which is ignite2unite.com. It's already up. You could sign up, but we're getting the app for the phone. So once that is in, we're going to start promoting in our Facebook. People will see that could join there. And we need to have our own Facebook because people have groups with 75,000 members, and Facebook just delete them just because they didn't like them. And by the way, let me say this publicly, Sal. There is a group on Facebook. Their purpose is to infiltrate all these groups that are, quote-unquote, pro-black or anti-white Israelis. And what they do is they come in your group, and they brag about it, Sal. They brag about it. Tomorrow I'm going to announce what the name of the group is. They announce that.
Yeah, I was going to say, put it out there now, man. Put it out there now.
They come with all these black faces like they're pro-black, come in the group and infiltrate it, and then they report the group. But when they report the group now, they're trying to get the group shut down because they fear us like we're some new form of Hitler. Black Hitler's running around trying to kill them. So that's what they supposedly say. But they brag about infiltrating all these groups. And look at King Noble's group was shut down. The Real Deep Square groups are shut down. Teaching historical black history was shut down with 75,000 members. Come on, brothers and sisters. They're infiltrating us, and we need to be aware of it. This is why I tell them in my group, when they talk about gays and whites, I try to limit it because these people are trying to die. It's their house. Facebook is not ours. That's why I decided to start my own Facebook. So I ain't got to worry about nobody shutting me down. It makes sense. But hey.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about some stuff behind the scenes with that stuff, that app. I like the application idea. Yeah, phone app.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But, got it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. And I picked the topic, because it was something we was talking about in the group. And I think it's a very important topic because as the brother asked, can you show and prove that God gave us a Sabbath? You can. It's faith. That's why I say I don't argue belief. If that's your faith, take it. But if you're going to base it on facts now, what we can prove, then you can't win because you can't show it. So on one hand, I'm with Laron, but on the other hand, I'm proving by what we can prove through archaeology, history, and external evidence.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
Hey, faithful listeners and thinkers. My name is Reese Roberts, and I'm the host of a new podcast called Entertain the Thought, now available on SoundCloud and www.reeseroberts.com. The website and podcast are focused on teaching consciousness and human evolution in current social conditions. As a free member on reeseroberts.com, you'll have access to curated content like videos and free book downloads. You can also schedule personal consulting services for teenagers, singles, and married couples. I also offer an enrichment training program that teaches students the fundamental arts of research and debate to increase their knowledge of self. The T-Team is now open for enrollment. For more information, please visit www.serveincorporated.com/register. Again, that's www.servincorporated.com/register. Thank you very much for tuning in to Debate Talk for You Radio.